Trouble comes unexpectedly. Salvation comes as a gift from God. But the strong die, leaving behind only memories. But the story is not over yet. When the hero wakes up again, the story will begin with a new chapter. Everyone will revere the savior as a god. Many years ago, there was an explosion. The rays of the blast wave hit the earth. Countless monsters have made their way into the real world, forcing humanity to face the greatest disaster it has ever seen. Fortunately, heaven never abandons humanity. On the back of each person's hand, a sign suddenly appeared that revealed unique paths to them. From this moment on, the era of changing occupations and turning into hunters began for humanity. Among the many who awakened, there were only 3 people with the mythical class. The Ghostblade Alfred was a resident of the United States of America. From Russia was the Hell Dragon Rider Rastif. The King of Mages was from the Frost Nation and his name was Kial Zayan. Because mythic ranked classes are significantly superior to others, this has led to the Lighthouse, Russia, and Frost Nation kingdoms overtaking all other countries. 100 years ago, such a prodigy appeared in the Dragon Kingdom. The best expert of the Dragon Kingdom was named Asura. In just 10 years, he set the highest record ever held in China. Asura became the first to pass through the 70th world. He was the strongest hero. There was one thing, but when the strongest 10th wave of monsters invaded the earth, Asura, who changed classes 8 times, died defending himself from the rift. The young man sacrificed himself. The sacrifice was to save the kingdom. Exactly 100 years have passed since the death of the hero Xu Luo. A memorial ceremony was held in the capital, attended by all the best hunters of the kingdom. At the same time, statistics showed that there were more than 12 million awakened people in the kingdom this year. 10% of those awakened are core hunters, which is significantly more than the number awakened in the year of Asura's birth. People may witness the next appearance of the next Asura. A young man, tired of life in a world of monsters and superpowers, decided to leave it. But at that moment, the system announced that the gates to the other world would open. The young man was on the verge of death when something went wrong. The guy himself didn't understand what had happened. The young man did not understand where he was and why he was alive. My head ached slightly from the storm of thoughts. Memories of the body's previous owner began to surface in my head. The body belonged to a poor guy, Zhang Yue, who woke up in the lower class. Zhang decided to commit suicide because he could not help his brother. The new owner did not understand whose memories had settled in his head. The memories lay like a heavy burden on the young man. Asura found himself in a new guise, not expecting to be reincarnated into a body with the same name. A monster tamer relies primarily on their pets in battle, and in addition to increasing their own level, the animal's growth attribute is also important. For an ordinary person, awakening as a monster tamer would be really bad news. Asura believed that Zhang Yue, who could not cope with life and committed suicide, was insignificant. But once upon a time, Asura was the strongest awakened in the entire Dragon Kingdom. The young man made an important decision once he took over someone else's body. Zhang Yak took on all the responsibilities and regrets of the deceased, and will conquer this other world where the weak are at the mercy of the strong. The main gate to another world is about to open and the hunter must prepare. Asura ordered the system to open the gate. The portal began to open. Soon the spatial gates opened. The substance began to draw the young man in. The guy himself accelerated the movement. The system greeted our hero and reported all the latest news. The guy had barely completed the quest when he was informed that he was the first to defeat a wave of 9th rank monsters. As a reward, Asura received the highest divine decree, a permanent buff that increased the power of abilities in the other world by 10,000 times. After activation, the young man received an additional reward. Zhang Yue was surprised that the first pure reward for the highest ranked monster wave in the world was actually insanely generous. The boy received a class reset and had to choose one of the 7 main classes. Our hero studied the list. 100 years ago, he awakened as an epic class warrior. Having thought everything over, the young man made a decision. Because Asura was reborn and retained a reserve of abilities for millennia to come, the young man achieved the 4th mythical rank in the other world, a core hunter, a necromancer. Necromancer, the main class of the mythic class, is a magic-based messenger resurrected from the underworld. A normal monster tamer's pet's intelligence can be obtained as a reward for rare quests, but its personality cannot be improved. In his past life, Asura relied on his epic rank to clear 70 worlds in just 10 years and become the best tanker in China. The The young man realized that he must perfectly purify every single world and become the strongest not only in China, but in the entire world. Soon morning came. Yui arrived in the first otherworld, the source of nightmares. The system notified that fighting was prohibited in safe zones and asked to confirm the ID. The guy chose a new nickname, Zero. People were fascinated by the fact that the other world was similar to the real world and that there were no monsters. The first world quest has appeared and can be viewed in the quest panel. People immediately began to gather in groups to carry out the task. The quest was in the first world, source of nightmares. The world quest was to kill 1,000 monsters in the first world and then collect 10 silver coins. The young man realized that the usual layout of the other world had not changed much, so he first decided to buy equipment. The warrior slowly approached the bench. The seller offered his help with a smile on his face. The equipment shop, however, remains the same as the system and can only provide basic items. Noticing the expression on our hero's face, the owner offered to provide more high-end equipment. A bag containing 100 copper coins and a request for a magic staff with 1 star fell onto the counter. Everyone looked at the stranger in amazement. The guys were extremely surprised that Zero spent all the starting money. Having listened to the advice that he should buy a set of rough items, our hero left. The girl asked if the attack power increased since it could only be improved with a higher number of stars. The young man quickly explained that upgrading a weapon required ability power, which could only be obtained through monster breeding quests. The team began to discuss that Zero would not last long since he did not have a drop of defensive power. For the average beginner hunter, spending all your money on 1 all-star gear really isn't worth it. The ability power that regular hunters gain from raising monsters is very limited, so they simply won't be able to afford to upgrade their equipment by 1 star. The guy regretted that the last thing he lacked now was the power of ability, and he immediately decided to fix it. When you spend 1 ability power point on an upgrade, you get a 10% chance to increase your green attribute. Zero continued to improve his weapons. Improvements happened one after another. After a couple of minutes, everything happened successfully. The system notified that the staff had already been upgraded to the highest level. 132 upgrades show the true power of quadrillions of ability power points. The preparations have been completed. The next goal is to put on a good show. The system provided a brief summary of our hero, who was a level 0 necromancer. New world source of nightmares. A source of nightmares. A starting point for newcomers to the field. The hunters fought the monsters. The rat dreamed of tearing his victim apart. The hunter was surprised that the lower-level monsters had a lot of health. If a monster attacks newcomers, they will die. A fireball appeared out of nowhere. After such an attack, the monster began to lose health immediately. The young hunters did not understand what had happened. The system notified that the mutated level 1 giant rat was killed and 10,000 ability points were received. Mythical class hunters have the highest level of basic attribute enhancement and the best equipment. The boys were temporarily speechless. The young people assumed that the man in front of them was a veteran hunter. In the next few minutes, the guys revealed that Zero was undoubtedly a big shot. Our hero thought about the fact that killing a first-level monster gives too little experience. In the first world, in addition to low-level rats, there are poisonous spiders of the 3rd and 4th levels, scorpions in iron armor of the 5th and 7th levels, berserker wild boars of the 8th and 9th levels, and the boss of the first world, the king of the berserker boars, level 10. The best choice for our hero is monsters above level 3 in an abandoned factory. Zero walked away when he was called. The young man offered to team up with Zero, and the girls took seductive poses to ensure that our hero would agree. But Zhang Yue categorically refused. After the refusal, the guy left, leaving the guys with nothing. Zero's presence frightened the young people more than the monsters. Yue headed towards the abandoned factory. The factory was immediately attacked by mutated rats. The system reported the murder of a mutated giant rat. Killing a level 3 spider rewarded 8 experience points and 30,000 abilities. The monsters were killed one after another. Our hero made no effort to kill. After a couple of minutes, the young man raised his level to the 2nd. Zero easily repelled the monster's attack. There was an explosion. The system notified that health was plus 30, mana was plus 12, attribute points were plus 6, and the level had increased to 3. Having defeated the current monsters, Zero moved on. The first skill slot has opened and a system reward has been received, the starting skill Fireball. The guy didn't think that the level up bonuses for mythical class hunters would be 6 times higher than for regular hunters. The Beastmaster class follows a growth path similar to the Mage in the early stages. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure faster attack speed, stable power, and then increase agility. As for the starting skill, it's quite weak, and for regular professionals with limited ability points, it's not worth using. Unfortunately, or fortunately in this life, UA has too many ability points, and it was decided to improve the initial skill. The system notified one by one about the ability points spent. When maxed out, the skill's damage output reaches 140%, which brought a smile to the young man's face. Fireball skill has been upgraded to Super Fire A rank. At this rate, completing tasks in the first 2 worlds should take 0 to at least level 8. Suddenly, the young man's attention was attracted by a sound. The sound came from the direction of the abandoned factory. The young man opened the doors. The sounds were made by the injured Kale. Aside from the fact that players actually die, this world is almost no different from a regular game. Kale was just an NPC who asked for help from the heroes, but due to the course of the story, he was changed and an additional task appeared. The equipment Zero receives from completing the quest is better than what drops from monsters. The mission details were to kill all the armored scorpions and their leader. Suddenly, the young man felt someone move. The sound came from the direction of abandoned buildings. It seemed like there weren't just monsters at the factory, but our hero's main task was to complete a quest. The monsters watched the victim, an intermediate monster of the first world, a scorpion in iron armor. The armored scorpion's skill was iron armor. Without wasting time, our hero began the fight. The staff instantly appeared in Zero's hand. Scorpio immediately tried to repel the attack. The monster in iron armor activated the collision skill. Zero dodged the attack and launched the next blow. The system notified that the scorpion was killed. Experience was plus 15, abilities plus 50,000. Super Fireball can be extremely powerful, but it consumes too much mana. Zero recalled that when the number of normal armored scorpions decreased to a certain number, the young man was killing new monsters when one of them called for the Emperor. The Scorpion Emperor awoke from the calls of his subordinates. The Scorpion Emperor has risen. Zero must kill this giant before he runs out of mana. The next moment, a fireball flew towards the monster. The Emperor repelled the attack. The young man realized that the scorpion's body was impenetrable. Our hero dodged the enemy's attack. The blow hit the ground next to the guy. Zero attacked from behind and at the monster's weak spot. The fireball filled everything with bright light. The enemy's body parts were cut in half. Yue was very lucky that he was able to knock down the Emperor just when the mana was running low. Now our hero needs to deal the final blow to the scorpions in iron armor and the mission will be completed. Suddenly, an unfamiliar hunter attacked Zero from behind. A group of hunters appeared out of nowhere and decided to complete the mission for our hero. But here's the problem Zero dodged, surprising his opponent. Yu knew that other hunters were watching him. The words about the young man being happy about the squad's appearance greatly surprised the team. Some players level up honestly, while others specialize in things like killing other people's prey. But what a pity that the squad chose the wrong target. The enemies Zero once faced were 1,000,000 times stronger than the ones he faces now. Our hero pointed his staff at new opponents. The young man still did not understand how it had come to this. Part of the squad was burned in the fire from the staff. The head of the detachment was amazed. Having recovered from the shock, the young man looked at Zero with apprehension. Yui explained that if he hadn't said that his mana had run out, the opponents wouldn't have come out. Our hero activated the Necromancer class skill, Soul Harvest. Without wasting a minute, the young man summoned his pet. The body began to glow purple. Then a dark flame began to appear from under my feet. The flames moved towards the enemy. The system notified that Yue received the Scorpion Emperor as a pet. The pet appeared behind its owner. Each death of a scorpion reduced the loyalty level by 10 points. The reason why pet owners have a hard time leveling up is because pet tamer experience is required to level up. Our hero has absolutely no need for experience, so he began to improve his pet. Emperor's Iron Armor D rank skill has been upgraded to A rank. The opponent leaned back in fear. Yu shared that from the moment he received the quest, he felt like the players were spying on him. The enemy realized they had screwed up. Zero decided to test what his pet was capable of. The monster rushed towards the enemy like an arrow. Instantly, the young man's body was pierced. The young man began to beg for mercy. Zero said that people like the attacking team should be prepared to be hunted. The last thing the enemy saw was the Emperor's mouth. Kale thanked the savior for revenge. The system congratulated you on completing the quest and announced the opening of new equipment leggings. Zero decided to see what kind of equipment it was. According to legends, The magic necklace is woven from magic, and wearing it gives power in magic. Greaves were stiff boots that could provide the owner with a certain degree of protection. Without wasting any time, Yue upgraded the new equipment to gold level. With this equipment, the young man and his Scorpion Emperor will be able to level up even faster. Suddenly, the young man was attracted by something. The system has announced the emergence of a secret kingdom, the 5th level Doomsday City. Everyone was amazed by the secret kingdom of such a level. The city of Doomsday was located not far from our hero. Zero decided to receive a generous reward. The Scorpion Emperor specializes in defense, so it can protect its owner and repel attacks. A young hunter decided to assemble a team to explore the secret kingdom. The hunters reported that for them, passing through the kingdom would be suicide. Zero attracted everyone's attention with his presence. But our hero was roughly pushed off the road. The passage was cleared for the man in golden armor. It was Liu Yao, the son of the richest man in Linghai. Liu has always been highly popular and has a full set of 1-star equipment. But the young master's daughter noticed Zhang Yue and was surprised. It was the ex-girlfriend of the previous owner of the body. Her name was Lin Yuer. Lin immediately began to mock our hero, talking about his poverty. The girl's words made Yue slightly angry. The girl did not understand why the young man did not beg for another chance, as happened last time. But without losing face, Lin immediately hugged Liu Cho, saying that only he had the strength to pass through the secret kingdom. In Liu's humble opinion, people should be able to calculate their own strengths and not build castles in the air. Zero didn't care about the opinions of other individuals. The young man's indifference angered Lin. Hearing the girl's whim to teach Yue a lesson, he advised her to save her lives. The young lady was calling out a bluff from a weakling like her ex. No one could see Zero's class and rank. Liu decided to stop revealing the relationship. He was in a hurry to enter the secret realm, and this time he would feel sorry for Zhang Yue. A group of hunters entered the gate. Everyone rushed after the young master. Liu Yao liked to be superior to others. Zero suggested surrendering because they were just pathetic losers. Asura considered the owner of the body to be pathetic, but this did not apply to him in any way. One of the hunters was surprised that the young man was acting like a hero. In the secret kingdom, you will have to go through many monsters. Given Zero's current strength, he can handle the smaller mobs easily, but the final boss was more difficult to defeat. If the young man and the Emperor both reach level 5 and do not have time to improve their equipment, then the chances of winning are 0. People gradually entered the gate. At this time, Liu Yao entered the kingdom. Lin wanted to know why Yao didn't stand up for her. With a stern expression on his face, the young man explained that he did not want to damage his reputation. He asked the girl to calm down, and soon Zhang Yue would bow before her, asking for an apology. At this time, our hero was clearing the area. A normal tamer's pets require the same amount of experience as their master. At the starting level, Zero only needs to kill a few small mobs to upgrade Scorpion. The attacks raised dust. The boys were surprised by the strength of the loser, whom they had calmed down a few minutes ago. The flames slightly touched the young man's boots. After enrolling, our hero was surrounded by girls who offered to join forces. Zhang Yue didn't care. The system announced that Doomsday City would close in 10 minutes. Zero has upgraded his pet, and it will serve the young man as a living shield. Scorpio's performance has improved in several ways. When combined with equipment that quickly restores mana, it allows you to use the Fireball skill, which increases the effectiveness of killing monsters. 10 minutes is more than enough for our hero. There was an explosion. Zero wished to die in the secret kingdom. The system greeted our hero, informing him that he had to defeat the guard. The guy was glad that the group had left and he wouldn't have to put up with them. The steps of the castle nearby began to break, foreshadowing something dangerous. The monster has arrived, or rather the boss of the kingdom. Armored Scorpion Overlord level 7. The main difference from its predecessor was the health indicators, and so they met in battle. At this time, Liu Yao was defeated in the boss battle. The henchmen began to calm the young master. Perhaps for the first time that evening, the smart thought occurred to them that life is a priority. Suddenly, Liu Yao felt something, or rather someone. It was our hero Zhang Yue. The young master was angry and decided to prick the youth by reminding him of his low level. Zero just smiled. The smile made Yao even more angry. Although the Overlord was good, he was just an insect for our hero. Attacks dealt damage, but the Lord was able to stand firm. The Emperor managed to repel the enemy attacks. Zero concentrated on the next attack. The attack was aimed at the monster's belly. The private attack caused the Lord to bleed. The monster rushed at our hero. The Emperor did not understand how the enemy slipped past him, but before the Lord could attack, he cried out in pain. And so the monster was defeated. It was too easy for the former genius. The system congratulated you on receiving your initial clearance and secret scroll. After seeing the notification, people were curious about who this Zero was. What was most impressive was the hero's strength, as he cleared the secret realm of the 5th level single-handedly. Lin and Liu were as surprised as the others. The young gentleman immediately understood the culprit of the announcement. The girl couldn't believe that Zero was her ex. Liu was sure that Zero was unable to clear the dungeon on his own, so other people were involved. After all, an ordinary person could kill the Scorpion Lord. The young master ordered to find a man with the alias Zero. An interesting fact about the Overlord is that he is a truly formidable leader with a gentle soul. The rewards dropped by bosses are always of a higher level than those dropped by regular monsters. The most important thing was the 5th level scroll. The secret scroll can be upgraded by spending just a few $1,000s. The system started mentioning points spent for improvement. The scroll has changed not only in its characteristics, but also in its appearance. The first level didn't have a royal level scroll, which would have cost hundreds of thousands on a dash. But the goal was to go through alternative worlds. The system notified about the use of the royal level M task. The difficulty of the task was 100, and the reward was unknown. The rear consisted of rescuing the survivors. A level 10 card appeared in front of the hero. The young man assumed that wild boars were appearing. First, it was necessary to find Eileen, who needed to be saved. The little girl tried to escape from the monster. In a moment, the boar was being prepared as shashlik. 5 rose from the fire. Zero hugged the baby. The system notified that the surviving Eileen had been found. The remaining time for completion was 10 hours. A new monster has appeared here. The young man realized that as soon as he found Eileen, wild boars began to appear in the forest. The monster rushed at our heroes. Zero repelled the attack. The blow hit the animal's side, taking away its health. The guys were surrounded on all sides. Mythical-grade equipment and an A-rank fireball didn't stop the monster. Zhang Yu summoned Scorpio to protect him. The monsters faced serious defense. The young man put all his efforts into the attack. The boars died one after another. The system reported the kill of a level 10 boar. The scorpion did not lag behind its owner and protected him. Numerous notifications about mob kills were appearing at a breakneck speed. Our hero's mana was running out, but the number of boars was not decreasing. Zero asked Eileen not to worry, and he would definitely bring her home. That's how the problem arose. The young man didn't have time to repel the attack of one of the monsters. Zero quickly grabbed his opponent in a fiery cage. The boar began to turn into shashlik. The boar's skin was too thick. Zero's health was still relatively high, but Scorpion wouldn't last long. The boar's health decreased with each attack. The guy was happy that he was finally able to level up twice in a row, so he urgently improved his attacks. The system notified that our hero was already at level 7 and his abilities had been increased. The guy got the gear after defeating the Scorpion Lord. This equipment was the glory ring of the 7th level boss. The young man activated all the equipment. Thanks to the power of the ring, the young man killed the monster. While Zero previously dealt damage only on the 7th or 8th hit, he can now kill a wild boar with 2 fireballs. A few seconds later, the young man defeated the monsters. Having gotten rid of the herd, all that remained was to return Eileen to the city of Doomsday. Then the task would be counted. But then Liu Yao appeared. The young master was a high sun sword and shield warrior, and Lin was a high moon. Zero didn't want to waste his time on stupid arguments with the hunters. Lin demanded that Yao teach such a worthless person a lesson. Our hero decided to incite the enemy and provoke him to kill. Yao pounced on Zhang Yue. The blow landed right on Zero's shoulder. Liu Yao didn't understand why he didn't harm his opponent. Lin also didn't understand what was going on, because Yue was a simple tamer and he didn't have any armor. Zero asked if he was finished. Intelligence affects magical attack. Agility affects speed and critical hits. Brutal Raid reduces defense by 10%. Increases attack by 20%. Both skills last for 10 seconds. A huge fireball appeared from the staff. Liu started shouting that he was the president of the Supreme Guild. Zero did not listen to his words. Yao was sent flying by the attack. The young master was taken out with one blow. Liu disappeared, leaving behind only his armor. The system notified that the hunter who launched the attack had a gray color applied to the enemy. The hunter's name is usually white, but if one hunter decides to harm another, the name of the aggressor in the conflict turns gray for a time. During this time, the victim's resistance is considered a justified defense, so he does not receive sin points. If the victim is killed, the attacker's name will turn red and will later receive 100 sin points. The rules of the other world prohibit moving beyond the protective zone, and the hunter will no longer be able to leave the world. After death, the hunter loses not only experience and level, but also a significant part of his equipment and inventory. Lin was discouraged and scared that her ex had become so strong. When the young man went towards the girl, she became frightened and began to ask what he wanted. Lin decided to return to our hero, saying that she could not forget about him. But Zero and Eileen ignored her. Finally, the young man looked at her, because if Lin had intervened, he would have failed the mission. Zero couldn't spend all his time on his ex. Because Lin was ignored, she was very angry. Soon, our heroes reached their destination. Eileen thanked the hero for seeing her off. The system congratulated you on completing the Royal Generosity mission. The technique of a small fragment and a normal-level pet egg was obtained. Without wasting any time, Zero began to try out the technique. The staff became icy with 2 stars. The young man decided to recycle the weapon. This resulted in the golden item Ice Scepter Destroyer being obtained. The higher the quality of the item, the more points it will take to upgrade it. The young man decided to check his pet's egg. It was of normal level. Zero collected many eggs while fighting monsters. Scorpio was delighted to hear that the eggs would be fed to him. The system began to notify which eggs the pet ate. Scorpio has evolved and become an elite-level Silver Emperor. All indicators will improve several times. With the 2-star staff and the Silver Emperor, Zero could defeat the boss of the First World. But before that, he must replenish his supplies. The young man walked slowly through the portal. Zero found himself in the ordinary world. The gate opened in Zhang Yue's apartment. The owner was met by a phone call. They called from the hospital, reminding them that the young man had not paid the bill for medical care provided to his brother, so they were forced to stop the treatment. The young man decided to sell parts of the gold equipment and send the proceeds for his brother's treatment. But unfortunately, the equipment could not be sold or dropped as it was tied to the player. Apparently, this is a minus increase in characteristics by 10,000 times. In other words, the setup is not such a bad idea. If Zero sold all his silver Mog, he would only be able to scrape together about 10,000. To find a way to make money, the guy took the phone. His gaze fell upon a correspondence offering part-time work. But then one user caught the guy's attention. Rumuro paid 3,000 yuan for a professional trainer from Linghai City. From the correspondence, it was possible to learn that such a message appears every year during the awakening of new professionals. Zero decided to call Rumuro. The guy was interested in a post with a threat to life. Zero reached level 8. The young man did not have much money. The staff's rarity was white and its class was neutral. The girl sat in front of a huge number of screens. After a couple of rings, the call was answered. The same girl answered and explained that this is relevant for those who have recently received their rank. The young man didn't care whether it was the first world or the second, but he would have to ask for 390,000 yuan. The stranger had lunch after the conclusion that Zero would receive 400,000 yuan. You passed through the gates to the City of Judgment where the right person would be waiting. Getting through the first world is one thing, but getting someone through it is quite another. Suddenly, the guy stopped and turned his attention to something. There was a girl standing in the square who looked like a nun. The young man approached her, wondering if she was the person he needed to deceive. The people immediately recognized the Enchantress of Destruction. Silence fell between the heroes. Zero announced the formation of a team to begin the world quest. The girl's class was hidden. The new team set out to carry out missions. The guy explained that the girl would not be able to hurt monsters that were higher in level than her. Zero decided to level up. The cold was depleting Scorpio's health. The new ability is not as effective as the fireball, but it can be used as an auxiliary one. Zero asked what the girl was worth while the enemy was frozen and ordered to kill him. The young lady put in some effort into magic. Pink flame collided with ice. Lesha broke into small pieces. The system began to congratulate on the increase in level. A monster decided to attack the young lady from behind. Zhang Yue rushed to help. At the place where the claw landed, dust rose and fragments of earth flew in different directions. But thank God, Zero managed to save his companion. At that very second, our hero activated the fireball. The explosion was so huge that fragments flew in all directions. The girl looked at her savior. Admiration appeared in his eyes. The guy hurried her to get up because they needed to reach a new level. Zero asked how old the girl was. The lady was 21 years old. The young man said that she should have started the passage 3 years ago. The girl stopped abruptly, and she simply took off her hood. The young lady thanked him for saving her and told him to keep everything that was happening between them. Zero thought the girl couldn't speak. Hearing that the guy would continue to lead her, she began to shout that she was carrying the Star of Disaster and the Vessel of Catastrophe. Zero was curious about what a catastrophe vessel was. The girl wanted to explain, but was not interrupted. It was a group of hunters. The men decided to kill the girl to get a reward. Deli was afraid that they would be killed because the opponents were higher in level than them. Zero orders the girl to leave. He can handle everyone. But then someone appeared again. It was Liu Yao and his guild. The guys started whispering that now they definitely wouldn't win. One of them immediately began to explain the situation to Yao. Life brings our hero and Liu Yao together. The guy asked if the young man had come to give him gifts. Liu raised his hand to give an order. Hearing the order, the guild members went on the attack. The girl's name was Su Yuan. Everything except her level was unknown. Our hero was ready for battle. Liu didn't understand the guy's reaction, but something didn't go according to plan. For completing a task incorrectly, one of the guild members received a blow to the head. As it turned out, this had already become a habit. Our heroes were surrounded on all sides. The young man estimated the number of opponents, but instead of attacking, the guild members began giving gifts. Su Yuan didn't understand what was happening. Lin was also discouraged. Liu wanted the young man to accept the gifts to prove his sincerity, since Zero did not shave and use force, unlike him. The young gentleman chose each gift specially. Next came an invitation to join the guild. Liu offered to pay 500,000 a month to join. Lin decided to put in her 2 cents about her ex-boyfriend's financial situation. The girl hoped that if Yue joined, she would even have a chance to dominate him. Zero was a man who recognized the value of those who were stronger. Lin got angry when she said that if Liu was stronger, Yue would accept the offer. Our hero was going to serve someone like a devoted little dog. Since they weren't planning to fight, our heroes set off on their journey because business doesn't wait. The young master ordered them to be released. Lin was angry that Liu tolerated such treatment, but the young man showed her place with a simple intonation. The guild members also did not understand this strange change in relations. One of the guys got hit on the head for a bad guess. The value of some things only appears when you put your own effort into them. Lin reminded that Liu was thirsty for our hero's blood. She wondered why the young gentleman had changed his mind. Liu was curious how some tamer could achieve the power to kill him. Zero was harder to understand than anyone else. Lin knew her ex better than anyone else, and she was sure that next time Zhang Yue would crawl at her feet. At this time, our heroes were on their way to the next task. In response to Su's words of gratitude, Zero replied that he would not be paid if she died. The girl paused. Yuan was afraid that they would not be able to complete the mission. The guy didn't understand why she was posting on the forum. Su gave up long ago, but her sister didn't. The owner of the vessel cannot deal killing blows to monsters alone. Seeing the information window, Zero was surprised to see a special class. This means that in addition to the basic classes, there are also special ones. The main thing for them was to overcome their limitations. Then the opportunity will open up to instantly achieve not just a high rank, but also a mythical one. Unfortunately, an ordinary person cannot achieve this. Those who fail the mission will condemn themselves to suffering. Yes, for 3 years after awakening to this level, the girl made hundreds of attempts, but without success. Su didn't believe that they could defeat the boss at level 10. She asked the guy to leave, starting to cry. Zero reported that victory was possible. The girl was surprised. She didn't believe the words that the young man would be able to get through the first world. But I still decided to trust. She dreamed about this for 3 years. She wanted to remove these damned restrictions from herself. Zero gently touched her hand. He said that they still had a whole world to overcome and that they shouldn't waste time talking. For the first world, the owner of any class must complete the prerequisite quests to earn the right to fight the world boss. The first task was to kill 1,000 monsters. The second one to collect 10 silver coins. Soon noticed that Zero had quickly dealt with 1,000 monsters and led her through the rest of the world quests. Now the boys were ready to face the boss. The young man noticed something was wrong, so he asked Su. The girl realized that the strength of ordinary people could not cope with the guy. With a smile, the young man said that he was not from an ordinary family, but from the middle class. Zero felt embarrassed and realized that he should avoid mentioning his income in the real world. The system asked to confirm completion of the task in order to fight the boss. The young man confirmed the completion. Loading of the first world boss sector has begun. A demonic abyss has opened. The boys entered the gates eagerly. Gradually, the boy and girl disappeared. The system notified that the guys were on site. The first thing the heroes saw was pink smoke. The time for the boss fight was only 1 hour. If the guys failed to defeat the enemy within the allotted time, the system will consider this as a defeat. Zero gave the girl some vials of potions. Among the bottles was also a scroll of rebirth. The guy did not deny the presence of unexpected factors, and it is better to be prepared for everything. Zero decided to simply use the golden armor and put the armor on Scorpion. Now the boss's attacks won't be a problem. The silver armored Scorpion was an elite class. The girl was slightly surprised by the atmosphere. Zero sensed the boss approaching. A huge boar appeared in front of the heroes. The Scorpion and its owner prepared to attack. The Mad Pig King was ranked 10th. Sue tried to calm herself down and calm her fear. The young man realized that the girl was so depressed by her constant failures that this feeling had now been replaced by fear. Zero ordered Sue to stay put and help Scorpion as a healer when needed. The young man himself replied that he had come to clean up after the little piglet. The monster rushed at our hero. Zero used Super Fireball. The pig's health has decreased by 325 units. Smoke appeared from behind the fire. The pig was not seriously injured. As Yue thought, the boss has thicker skin and is not easy to break through. The pig was furious because of the attack. The Scorpion performed its protective function perfectly. The Emperor repelled attack after attack. Our hero attacks from behind the defense. The pig ran through the fire. Everything was going well because the Scorpion was holding back the attacks and the young man was delivering them. But something went wrong and the pet screamed. The Pig King was able to break through the defense. The ruler flew to the side. The pig was very angry. The pet soon returned to its function. The monster rushed into battle with renewed vigor. Sue shouted for the guy to dodge. Scorpio prepared to defend himself. The young man remained firmly in place. Zero waited for the pig to come closer. The Pig King is the ruler of the Source of Nightmare, which stands at the very end of the first world. The boss came too close. It was a chance, and our hero took advantage of it. The young man began the attack. Ice cubes flew at the pig. Bosses at lower levels are prone to 50% resistance, so the ice effect won't last long. The pig broke the ice cage. The girl heard that when Pig is angry, he uses a death stomp. Scorpio stood up to defend his owner. The pig was defeated, but the boss's body began to recover. The guy ordered to restore the Scorpion's health. Sue began to carry out the order. Health was quickly restored, but the pig boss immediately attacked. Even with full recovery, the Scorpion will not last long. Zero used 2 elements at once. The guy sent a fiery ice ball towards the enemy. The young man was confident of victory. The blow collided with the boss. Having run through the fire, the pig was stopped by a wall of ice. The monster screamed in pain. Even a 2-star rank 10 boss won't be able to withstand the fire of mythical-grade gold equipment. Our hero was engulfed in flames. The pig screamed in pain. The girl had never seen a person use 2 skills so skillfully and calmly. The pig breathed its last. Afterwards, the boss fell down near death. For the victory, our hero was given 6,000 experience. Also received were the Berserker skill book and magic clothing. And the last thing that dropped was the Berserker's war ring, which was usually used for the Scorpion. Sue also lost her status as a destructive enchantress. The girl was able to achieve not only this, but also acquired an epic main class. The system went silent too abruptly, which made the heroes nervous. The notification of Zero and Sue's victory was seen by everyone. No one could believe that 2 people were able to clear the first world in less than half a day. The second world was overrun by the undead and the fortress was active. The red portal led to the second world, the blue one to the real one. The guy wanted to solve the problem with his main expenses, which he told the girl. Soon the guy disappeared. The girl realized that the mystic class hunter everyone was talking about was Zero. At this time, the center of Linghai City, the Fang family building. The secretary reported to the director that a call had come in. It was Zhang Yue with the message that the mission had been completed and he was waiting for a reward. The girl wanted to make sure herself and then make the payment. Miss Fan couldn't believe that such a difficult mission could be completed in half a day. But then Su Yuan burst into the office, shouting that she had been able to fulfill her dream. She also shared that she had achieved the epic main class Taboo Enchantress. The older sister was genuinely happy for her. When asked how many hunters helped the girls, Sue said that only 1. Mir Fan couldn't believe her ears. She quickly sat down at the table, surprising Sue with her behavior. Sue confirmed that Zero helped her. There was a discussion in the chat that the Royal Long had finally been completed. Fan was surprised that her sister and Zero were able to break all records and become the first group to reach the second world. It was decided to hold a constituent assembly. Super Ice Strike. On hit, the ability to freeze the enemy for 1 second and interrupt spellcasting. After some time, Zhang Yue received a call from the hospital informing her that the payment of the bills had been successful. The young man said that he was handing over his brother into the safe hands of doctors. The fee for the examination was high. If our hero had known about it, he would have accepted Liu's offer. My thoughts were interrupted by a call. The young man responded immediately. The guy was asked if he would like to join the Misty Rainy Pavilion Guild. Su Jin was the vice leader of the guild. It was a perfect match. Having heard that the young man would accept the invitation, the girls were delighted. The guy had a condition that the guild would not interfere and not restrict his personal life. Su was a little worried. Fan didn't quite understand the meaning of the condition. The men in suits were sure that once a person joined the guild, he had to devote all his time to it. There was silence, and everyone assumed it was a refusal. The members were divided into 2 camps. June said that such a player appears once in a century, and they must take advantage of the opportunity. The director wanted to say something, but Yuan intervened. The sisters were in favor of accepting Zero into the ranks, and they expressed their opinion. The director eventually agreed. Soon, our hero received a call on his phone. The guild only ranked 5th in the Royal Long, but that was enough for Zero. Not to mention that a monthly salary and bonuses easily cover all medical expenses. Our hero was informed that they had agreed to set up a meeting with him. Zero said that he prefers to work from home, and the time zone is not a problem since he is from the same city. June was outraged by this behavior, but she only replied that she agreed. Having completed the negotiations, it was decided to return to the other world and go about our business. The gate opened in the shape of a star. The guy was offered a choice between 2 worlds. The young man chose the second one. The young man entered the right gate. Having passed Zero, he found himself in place. The system welcomed the hero to the city of Norden. The gates began to close. A system window appeared in front of Zero. Under the influence of the ensuing darkness, people mutated into zombies. The first task was to get a pass to the secret kingdom, but to complete it, you need to be at level 15. Captain Norris appeared. Norden is a safe zone that is periodically attacked by zombies. Norris asked to go to the west of the city and collect materials. There are only 10 available quests in the corridor, but collecting materials is the most difficult one. It was necessary to replenish Norden's weapon warehouse. A random 2-star equipment could drop upon completion. At the same time, this quest is the most generous in terms of rewards. Zero said that he would take on this task. Soon, our hero reached the outskirts of the city where a former military warehouse was located. There were a lot of zombies around. Zero was getting closer and closer to his opponents. The guy summoned a pet. The battle began. The zombie did not stop running towards the enemy. Scorpio easily repelled the attacks. Zero is like that through protection. The zombies were fireproof and didn't take much damage. The young man called for weapons. An ice staff appeared in his hands. It's better not to use fire on zombies, as it only makes them burn even more. The young man ordered Scorpio to take on the aggression. The Emperor immediately began to carry out orders. The claws tore apart the enemy's body. Zero activated additional protection. The pet began to play with the victim. The young man decided to complete the task faster. It was decided to extinguish the fire with ice. The zombies were trapped in an icy prison. The monster breathed its last. Killing the fire monster dropped a measly bronze coin. The young man had no intention of stopping halfway. The system started to notify that the level had increased. As a reward for his hard work, the boy received only 50 fireballs. The young man was hungry, so he decided to leave the world and look for a snack. Someone's loud cry attracted our hero. It started raining unexpectedly. 2 worlds began to merge. It's time for the boss to respawn. Something appeared from the portal. It was the boss of 2 worlds. The monster dropped valuable rewards, equipment, and skill books. The boss didn't scare our hero. A staff began to appear in his hands. The monster looked very frightening. The boss didn't wait and rushed into attack. Zero assumed a defensive stance. The ice prison was unable to hold back the enemy. The young man realized that things were not going well. The monster completely gained control of the ice element and dealt an ice attack to our hero. Zero took damage and lost 352 health points. Zero's fireball was invited by the ice. The monster received a double attack. The boss was our hero's main opponent. The monster ran towards Zero at breakneck speed. Here a pet appeared. The scorpion suffered heavy damage. A blue flame began to appear in the monster's palm. The boss will use his claws to penetrate the protective circle. And then the ice attacks rushed towards Scorpio. The system notified that the pet had died. Our hero was left without protection. Compared to other bosses in the first world, this one is on a whole other level. But suddenly a purple beam pierced the monster. It was Su Yuan. The guy was surprised to see the girl. Su said that she would take on the crowd and let the young man continue to do what was needed. Zero relaxed with the appearance of the girl. The guy started hitting again and again. The monster screamed in pain. Following the ice attack, a fireball flew at the monster. The guy was surprised that Su could also use a fireball. The girl then used a beam of light. The monster began to scream in pain. 3 skills seamlessly combined into each other. This was the power of the Forbidden Magic class. The system hint says not to anger the zombie boss thoughtlessly. He will respond with cold, like ice with fire. The fireball and ice spear combined into a magical weapon. While the monster howled in hellish pain. Su Yan helped our hero, on the other hand. Zhang Yak took into account the attack. The magical energy mixed, creating an unusual combination of colors. For the joint attack, our hero received 3,000 experience. The young man decided to split the reward equally. Su refused. She came to take the quest and ran into the guy by accident. Yue was surprised when the girl said that he was helping not her, but his sister. The young lady decided to meet our hero and gave her real name. The young man looked at her. Zhang Yue also introduced himself. Since the guys were in the same guild and both took part in a collection quest, it was decided to team up. All of Su's crowd control skills have been made taboo, so their effects last 30% longer. It will be about 1% easier for the guy with Su's skill. Yue headed back to Norden, and they were only able to reunite after 10 minutes. The girl waved her hand lightly. Su remembers telling herself that she would marry anyone who could break her curse. The girl reproached herself for awkward thoughts. Night soon fell. As time went on, the guy looked at his inventory. The young man decided to sell all his 1-star equipment, leaving behind his walking boots. Next, Yue needs a boost, a more destructive skill. The young man began to improve his abilities. Super Flame Bullet rank. Summons 3 flame bullets that deal 110% magic damage. The guy summoned those very bullets. With the speed our hero had and his new skills, no one would be able to reach him. Suddenly, a system window opened. Su Yan invited to join the Misty Rain Pavilion Guild. The young man's spirits rose, and with his skills and equipment, he also finished quickly, and it was time to return. The zombies were damaged over and over again by the superfire bullet. There was fire around the place where the equipment was located. Jin Yan was surprised that the young man took out the monster with 1 blow. The guy was slightly jealous that the girl was being loaded with equipment. Su asked if Yue was hiding the additional effect of her equipment. It had nothing to do with the matter. He was just a mythical class hunter. The girl found it strange that the appearance of a certain mythical class hunter had not been established. In any case, the Yue class cannot be awakened by normal methods. The boys finished with ice and fire, only poisonous cores remained. Suddenly, a notification came that the guild was calling everyone. Su was curious about what Chen Jun was up to, and the guy became curious about who it was. The man was the guild master of the Linghai branch. Since this was a common matter for the guild, our hero made a decision. The purple monster let out a roar. People around the monster flew in different directions. Even though the enemy was defeated, people still suffered. There was a fight to the death all around. People fought not only with the monster, but also with themselves. The battle was with Liu Yao's guild. The battle was for the monster that the other guild found first. Yao shouted that everything was fair because the enemy guild was small. A circle appeared in the sky from which fireballs shot out like bullets. One of the shells hit one of Liu Yao's boys. The young master was furious that someone dared to stand in his way. Someone was moving towards Liu. It was our hero, Zhang Yue. System hint. It's best not to use ice or water attacks on an ice zombie, as the cold will only agitate it further. An hour before the main events, a group of people attacked the monster. The monster became more and more ferocious due to the attacks. People were scattered in different directions by the retaliatory strikes. The guild members shouted that without control techniques, it was too risky to face the boss face to face. Chen Jun didn't understand what people were afraid of. They just needed to wait for Jinen and ordered them to hold the line and attack as much as they could. Someone appeared here. Su Yuan and Yue arrived. The guys saw the girl and understood why they didn't call her the Snow Queen. Yuan asked our hero not to listen to the guild members. The girl reproached herself for her thoughts and worries. Chen was glad to see the young lady. Seeing Yue, the man was surprised and shocked that the girl was unaccompanied. Yuan said that her escort was not Chen's problem. The girl asked not to worry. She had perfectly managed to distinguish black from white and asked to get closer to the point. Chen reported that the zombie fortress had been updated and the boss had respawned next to it. Yan looked at our hero. She said that the boss doesn't update that often, which means that if the guild defeats the boss after his revival, it will provide the guild with a great help. Just as Yue was about to get rid of the boss, Chen stopped him. When asked why, the man was angry that an ordinary door tamer had snuck into their guild hoping to make some money, so there's no point in getting ahead of himself. Having heard about the tamer, people began to discuss the young man in a less than favorable light. Yuan stood up for Yue, but he only said that since Chen was the guild master, the final decision would be his. The girl was not going to tolerate everything that was happening. The young lady hugged the young man and said that since Yue was not going anywhere, she would stay. Chen asked Jinyan to calm down. He was just worried that all this could lead to the senseless death of our hero. Chen took the girl away. She promised to return. The boss is level 15, so the battle will take some time, even with Su Yuan's help. Even with such a number, it was just a matter of time the young man wanted to see what a 5th-rank guild was capable of. Our hero appeared before his opponents in an impressive pose. People were surprised that a simple beast tamer had caused so much damage. Yao was angry that our hero joined the misty, rainy pavilion. Lin was furious that our hero refused an invitation to the best guild and joined the scum. A purple ball of energy appeared out of nowhere. He attacked Lin without hesitation. It was Yuan who wanted it to be quieter. Our hero responded to the name. Yao said that he would pay 3 times more. Zhang Yue could become the deputy guild master. Yuan was outraged that the young master had no right to lure our hero away. Yu said that he was a man of honor. Being in the ranks of Misty Rain, carrying out their tasks, he could not simply switch sides. But no one knows what will happen tomorrow when the right time comes and Yao and Zhang Yue raise this topic again. The young master was glad to hear this and said that the highest guild will always be glad to see our hero. The doors are always open for him. Yao ordered his guys to leave. One of the men was shocked because they almost got the boss. The young master was furious. His boss no longer cared. He shouted to look at the situation more broadly. Liu Yao walked away. Yue and Yuan watched the young man leave. Yan thanked our hero for his help. The battle with the monster has not been cancelled. The zombie boss attacked our heroes with great force. The guys managed to shorten their distance. A crater remained at the place where the enemy's weapon landed. The boss was called the Zombie King of Despair. Yu prepared for battle. The young man warned that he would deal with this enemy. The ruler of the zombies who obey him, do not try to get close to him, otherwise he will crush you into a pancake. The opponent received a blow directly to the stomach. Everyone was amazed by the strength of our hero. Yu reported that the girl knew what to do. The monster received quick blows. Our hero gathered his forces for the attack. After the impact, the monster soared into the sky. The zombie ruler breathed his last. Zhang Yue walked away from the battlefield. The system congratulated our hero on his victory over the 2-star boss. The guild members admired the young man. Yuan thanked Yue because if it weren't for him, the top guild would have definitely stolen this boss from them. The guys decided that it was not our hero they should look up to. At this time in Nordin, Yuan hugged Yue and returned to the city. Chen, seeing our heroes, pounced on the guy with questions about the boss. One of the guild members reported that Lady Su and the Tamer managed to drive away the top guild and finish off the boss, which surprised Chen. The young man also said that he was simply something even simple attacks could easily kill anyone, but not Yue. Chen wasn't just angry, he was furious. The man didn't care who our hero was, and if he didn't listen to his orders, he would throw the young man out. Yu grabbed his hand. Our hero clearly remembered Chen ordering him to stand aside. One of the guild members started yelling at the Tamer. Yue also ordered to defeat the boss, and lo and behold, the mission is completed. Yuan came to her friend's defense. Everyone watched what happened. The girl took the young man and said that they still had many quests to complete. Chen felt like a fool. The man told the assistant to keep an eye on our heroes and learn about our heroes' weaknesses. The forest was enveloped in purple fog. The fog didn't smell very nice. It was zombie poison. It was more terrible than ice and fire. Zombies lack elemental properties, but they compensate for this with their dangerous abilities. The poison zombie is the one who exposes them, and thus receives the poison status, which cannot be cancelled for 5 seconds. The girl was a little scared. Yue asked to apply the treatment periodically. The girl saw the reward for the quest. The young man handed the prize to his companion. Soon the gates opened. New monsters appeared again and again. While Yuan held back the monsters, Yue struck. Our hero used a mixed attack of ice and fire. The monster flew to the side dead from such force. The girl admired her partner, but he said that without her the battle would have taken longer. Our heroes send on. But Yue felt something. A young man, Chen's henchman, reported that Yue and Yuan were finishing the quest and collecting zombie cores. Chen tore his clothes with his teeth when he heard about Su and Yue's close relationship, because after the damned class, the girl didn't even smile at him. The men were distracted from their conversation by a system window. The system reported that in 30 minutes, a huge horde of level 13 would attack the city and asked to be prepared. Chen didn't understand how our hero could touch him and steal his beloved. The man promised to find a way so that Yue would no longer be able to remain in the guild. The assistant reported that they have revival scrolls, and that killing players in the safe zone is also impossible. The rules of the other world stated that once the horde arrived, these protective measures would be unavailable to other hunters. System hint. The zombie emits poison from its body. Being near it results in death. Many people died in the poisonous forest due to poisoning. For completing the task, the boys received a lot of coins. They had very little time left before the completion of the quest itself. But here's the problem. One of the monsters attacked Zhang Yue from behind, biting into his shoulder. Yuan then began to attack the enemy. But the young man managed it on his own. Drops of blood fell to the ground. The girl ran up to her companion and asked about his health. Someone from the side was watching the tea ceremony. Soon the boys returned to the fortress. The system congratulated you on completing the resource collection task. Thanks to this, our heroes were able to increase their level. Su was happy that she was able to reach level 16 and obtain 2 level 15 2-star equipment. Yue reached level 17 and began to level up his pet. If he hadn't shared his experience with Scorpio, he would already be on the 20th. The girl asked the guy if he needed to update his equipment before the horde arrived. The young man hastened to do this. The system congratulated you on receiving the gold zombie blast-proof armor gear. Next, the armor was obtained, thanks to which zombies could no longer get close to the owner. With 2 pieces of this equipment and a level 15 armored silver scorpion, no one from the second world will be able to lay a finger on our hero. The young lady was glad that they were prepared to fight the horde. The girl's joy was interrupted by an announcement that she was being sought. The guild asked Su to come to the office as soon as possible. The young lady said that she had family problems, and the young man would have to fight the horde alone. The girl asked our hero to be careful. Yu thanked him for his concern. Soon a portal opened. The sky erupted with lightning, foreshadowing something dangerous. The system warned that payment was already due and asked to get ready. The warriors were ready for battle. None of the hunters will be able to leave this world until all waves of attack are repelled and Norton's protective barrier is deactivated. The gates began to open. The undead burst out of the gate and rushed at the hunters. The warriors were surrounded. One by one, people died. An explosion was heard. This was our hero. The zombies were coming in an endless stream. The people only had to hold out for an hour. At this time, Yue received messages from the guild where the guys admired them. Seeing all the messages, the young man smiled. Many hunters died fighting the horde. 2 people watched everything that was happening. It was Chen and his assistant. The young man noticed that Yue was doing high damage, but the skirmish with the zombie had left him pretty battered. According to Chen's order, the best 12 archers were brought in and were in ambush. Once Yue was dealt with, the guild master prepared to respawn his men in place to finish off our hero. Chen went crazy with obsession with Su Yuan. Our hero soon arrived at the scene. Yu stopped at the place Chen needed. In an instant, several dozen arrows were sent at the guy. Yue didn't move from his place. The armored scorpion took the entire blow. Chen and his minions were surprised by the appearance of the pet. The system notified that Yue was intentionally attacked by hunters from his guild for the next 10 minutes. He will not be awarded penalty points for killing his opponents. The young man exuded a sense of death. People were thrown to the sides by the fire attacks. The system reported that our hero killed the hunter and his name was not active. The silver-armored scorpion grabbed 2 opponents and crushed them. The system reported that the hunter madman was dead. The pet stood in defense of its owner. Yu himself walked forward without fear of anything. The aura of death walked next to our hero like a faithful companion. Chen was amazed that our hero was so strong. The man was angry that his assistant had hidden such strength of his opponent from him. Suddenly, an explosion sounded next to them. A silhouette was visible through the dust. The guy found it funny that they decided to defeat him with such pathetic tricks. Chen didn't understand what this meant. Our hero kindly explained what it meant to watch him after the boss fight and look for a good chance to kill him. The man was even more angered by the fact that Yue knew everything and was simply pretending that he had poor defense and imitating his weaknesses. Our hero had nothing against Chen and his supporters and simply wanted to see their reaction. The element of fire absorbed everything. Chen aimed the gun at the enemy. Yue also prepared to attack using the ice element. The man didn't expect that ice attacks would be used on him. The henchman at the table shouted that Zhang Yue must be killed as he pointed his blade at his superiors. Our hero was immediately attacked by guild members. Yu summoned the fire element. Many died because of the fire. Chen was surprised that our hero was able to defeat an elite spiritual assassin. Soon, Chen himself was burning in the fire. The young man explained that he was someone that no one should mess with. The system notified Sen that he was killed by the 17th level Necromancer 0. There is a rebirth zone. Chen and his assistant were reborn after death. The man realized that Yue was a wolf in sheep's clothing and he would never take his side. At this time, the real world, the Su family building. Su Yuan was against marrying Chen Jun. She had always disliked him. Uncle said that this is not a reason for refusal. Love is such a strange feeling. It can come after some time. Lady Chen's gifts were the devil's armor and an energy potion. Chen Jun was his uncle's only son, so he would obviously inherit the company, and once the girl married him, all of his property would be at her disposal. The young lady thanked him for his generosity and replied that she wanted to make her own decision. The uncle listened to everything. The man was furious. He didn't understand how the girl could talk nonsense in public, even when the Su family had spent a fortune on her development. The elder sister listened to everything in silence. But afterward, she asked to understand that her sister is not a bargaining chip. No one should make such decisions for her. Sister told Jinyan that she would always be on her side, especially in matters of finding happiness. At this point, Jun and Chen's father's phones rang simultaneously. They were both surprised that Chen was killed by Zhang Yue. The man was furious that people were turning ovens on his son while he was sponsoring the Su base. Uncle Su asked Director Chen to calm down on the spot. He was sure there was a misunderstanding. The man promised to return if anything happened to his son. Uncle Chen left hysterically, slamming the door. Chairman Su began to scold the girls that their hired talent had done this to the Chen family, who had sponsored them for so long. Su Jinyan was sure that there was a good reason for the attack. Otherwise, Zhang Yue would not have done such a thing. Uncle Su began to shout for the girls to bring Zhang Yue. He would force him to bow down and apologize to the Chen family. Yuan wanted to say something when her older sister was distracted by the phone. Jean started asking where our hero was when he called her. The young man announced that he was leaving. Or, to be more precise, he was leaving the Misty Rain Pavilion. The girl asked him not to rush into his decision. She promised to prove our hero's innocence. Yue said there was no need for that. It would be better for the guy if he drew clear boundaries between the Misty Rainy Pavilion. As for the hospital bills of 50,000 every month, we have to rely on money from the sale of materials. To complete the Second World's mission, the young man must stop 2 waves of zombies and then deal with the Secret Kingdom. The end of times has come. The world has known its end. Under the influence of the ensuing darkness, people have mutated. 3 secret kingdoms. The land of the undead has the highest level, which means the materials from there will be relatively higher. Now that our hero is level 17, clearing the land of undead level 20 alone won't be a problem for him. Our hero was approached. It was a gang that had heard about Dasin, the tamer of the Misty Rainy Pavilion. Our hero asked to leave on good terms. The boys began to mock Yue, calling him a coward and a weakling. The young man realized that he was being provoked on purpose. Our hero began to emit a bad aura with a furious force. Yue was wondering how much Chen paid them. One of the bandits reported that the guy was quite smart, and the guildmaster promised each of them 5,000 and a scroll of rebirth. The young man laughed that Chen had a high opinion of him since he would pay 10,000 for him to kill them. Killing the group was a piece of cake for Yue, but it would paint his name red. He couldn't go out during the sin coefficient purification, and he wouldn't be able to enter the safe zone. Liu Yao suddenly appeared and offered to double the pay if the gang killed the Misty Rainy Pavilion guildmaster. The boys couldn't believe that some park was so generous. One of the guild members introduced the young master Liu Yao. The guild members ordered to listen to the words of the young master and to move with his request. Yao heard that our hero was kicked out of the Misty Rainy Pavilion. Yue guessed that Chen was very angry. The young master stated that the dogs of the Misty Rainy Pavilion were blind. and he asked them to name their price and join him. Yu suggested that they talk about it later. Right now, he wasn't looking for a guild for himself. Yao responded to one of the guild members' comments by saying that he understood, as our hero had just been insulted by the misty, rainy pavilion. The guild, in the young man's opinion, did not notice talents. It was not surprising that they were always in 5th place. Zhang Yue thought that he would be free of Chen if he left the guild. But looking at the current situation, if he didn't eliminate him in the future, the man would become a huge thorn. Soon, our hero arrived at the dark lair of the undead on the 15th level. Normal class hunters will expect better rewards, so for the sake of clearing the highest level of the week's land, most of them will team up for the lowest level of the undead land. Few people care about this. The gates to the lair were sealed. Our hero was met by the NPC sorcerer Mog. The old man asked if the brave traveler wanted to enter the secret kingdom. After receiving a positive answer, the stone that the sorcerer was holding lit up. A normal dark undead lair arcane decree can be upgraded to a golden arcane decree, which will transform the lair into an arcane realm. The probability of a shift is low, but regardless of this amount of alternative energy infused, maximum purification will occur until Yue obtains the golden secret decree. At this time, a hunt for Chen was underway in the forest. The hunters wanted to get their 10,000. The man did not understand how they could come back for him if he paid them money. The assistant advised the guildmaster to wait until the weekly limit on the use of revival scrolls was reset. Chen was furious and vowed to kill Zhang Yue. A warning was issued to all Norden hunters that a hunter whose name was hidden had used a secret golden uraz and upgraded a regular secret kingdom. Chen was confident that the heavens were favoring him. With a free revival, he would be able to clear the 15th level minor secret realm. At this time, a battle with a monster was going on. Yao ordered that all guild members be informed about the gathering and prepare to go into the dark lair of the undead. One of the tasks of the second world was to clear out the secret kingdom. After the upgrade, the level of rewards that can be obtained in the hidden secret kingdom has increased significantly, in addition to free respawn. The young man had no doubt that all this would not tempt Chen. These thoughts were behind the cleansing of the kingdom. The undead lair contained many different monsters. Something was interfering with the smooth execution of our hero's hunting plan, and this obstacle was in the person of the guard of the secret kingdom. The young man decided to deal with him first. The head of the undead, who hides in the darkness, should not be angered unnecessarily, because the consequences may not be bearable. There was an explosion. The monster's tentacles broke from the heat. Soon, the leader of the undead was defeated. The young man asked to behave appropriately, otherwise he would face the same fate as his other subordinates. The system warned that a large number of players had entered the dark lair of the undead. For Chen Jun and other people in his position who do not have access to the resurrection scroll, the secret kingdom, with its free respawn, is an opportunity not to be missed. Yue sensed Su Yuan and the Supreme Guild. Our hero's goal is only one person. It would be better not to involve outsiders. As a respected owner of the Golden Secret Decree, the young man had the right to change the rules of the dark lair of the undead 3 times. While Yue was changing the rules, the world was in full swing. Chen asked Jinyan not to leave him. The man irritated the girl. She was going to go looking for Zhang Yue. The system notified that the rules in the secret kingdom had changed now. After death, the free resurrection function was cancelled. A new list of tasks was posted that surprised everyone. You had to kill 500 zombies. Chen didn't understand why the rules had to be changed. The assistant suggested that Zhang Yue had changed the rules and had deliberately deceived Chen. The man thought it was a fiction. Our hero couldn't have been so lucky as to have managed to obtain the Golden Secret Decree. Su Yuan chimed in, saying that the rule change looked like it was meant to target someone specific, which surprised Chen even more. The man immediately changed his shoes, reassuring the girl, saying that he would quickly handle everything despite the change in the rules. In her thoughts, the girl was doing something so that the guild master could help herself better. The guild moved in parallel, clearing the area. Chen said that they should kill the boss first and clear the kingdom. The assistant reported that there was someone on their way. Hearing the familiar voice, Chen couldn't believe his ears. Su Yuan, on the contrary, was glad to see the owner. She could recognize this voice among thousands. Zhang Yu sat on the defeated boss of the secret realm. The guy said that he had to wait for them for a long time. The young lady was glad to see the young man and told him that she was going to look for him. Chen didn't understand where Yue got the Golden Secret Decree that could affect the rules. Our hero jumped off the monster. Yu said that now was a great opportunity for Chen to get even with him. The man initially entered the kingdom for a free rebirth, but did not expect to fall into a trap. Chen began to shout that the young man should not be so confident, because he had the support of his family. Su Yuan ignored the man's order to use the power of the spell to take control of Zhang Yue. Chen didn't expect such a reaction. Then the man ordered the guild to attack our hero, but the guys were not eager to risk their lives. Chen knew he was at a disadvantage. Then he decided that he would pay each of them $5,000. The man did not believe that Yue would withstand the attack of an entire crowd of people. The guild members each had one scroll of rebirth, but they still rushed into the attack. Compared to the wave of 9th-level monsters, the members of the Misty Rainy Pavilion were nothing. Our hero launched attacks with quick movements. Yue himself didn't receive a single scratch. The opponents burned in the fire. The system reported that one by one the guild members were dying. Excellent killing of hunters with white names did not raise sin points. Our hero did not have to worry about it. Chen immediately ordered that the dungeon be cleared while Yue was surrounded. But the surprise was blocked. It was an armored scorpion. The guild members were confident that they could handle the pet. One of them struck Scorpio, but the blade broke, surprising the owner. Yu said it would be strange if they could deal any damage to a level 15 elite silver scorpion. The arrows were fired. Misty Rainy Pavilion didn't understand who taught them to attack. Zhang Yue guessed who it could be. The warriors rushed towards our hero, but it wasn't the young man's job to run past Yue. Turning around, the guy saw that two guilds were fighting. Yao assured that while he was nearby, Chen would not be able to get close to our hero. Yue was annoyed that the young master was literally appearing everywhere. Chen didn't understand what Liu Yao was talking about, because he never targeted anyone from the top guild. The young master was curious as to which of the two had more money, since Chen liked to use money to solve problems. Pointing at the man, Yao said that he would give the opportunity to get rich to the one who killed the guild master of the Misty Rainy Pavilion and paid him $1 million. Hearing that people were seriously considering killing their master, Chen began shouting that those who spoke out against him would immediately become enemies of his family. The screams were interrupted by an earthquake. A monster began to emerge from underground. In another world, when the health of the local overlord or monsters of a level drops to a very low level, they have a very small chance of entering Berserk mode. The monster grabbed his weapon. This week's Dark Lord has entered Berserk mode and evolved into a 3-star level 17 boss. Liu Yao panicked. He didn't expect the star boss. The monster was furious. The Lord struck at the hunters. People scattered in different directions. Due to the level increase, the exit from the Secret Kingdom has opened, so any hunter can leave the location. The monster ran next to Liu Yao. Chen decided to attack the young master. The man was happy to annoy Liu. The arrow flew into the monster's hand from the side where the young master was. The arrow's light blinded Liu Yao. The monster was furious at the attack. Liu Yao realized that the enemy thought that he had launched the attack and began to beg for help. The ruler turned towards the boy and walked towards him. Yao crawled back further and further, hoping for help. A silver-armored scorpion came to the aid of the young master. After leveling up, the overlord became completely different. But I wouldn't have thought that because of such a block, the silver-armored scorpion would lose so much health. Chen decided to take advantage of the moment and escape, saying that if Yue wanted to finish him off, he would have to wait tens of thousands of years, and maybe then it would work. Our hero asked Yao not to move. Chen was not the focus of everyone's attention. Scorpion took heavy damage while acting as a shield. Yao Liu still asked for help. Zhang Yue can only use the teleport once. If he wants to kill Chen, the young man will have to sacrifice Liu Yao because he has no way to resurrect. The guy came to the rescue. The monster didn't expect to be attacked. Yu used ice against the enemy. The Lord was chained in an ice cage. Our hero grabbed Yao and ran away. The monster cut through the ice cage. Even using a powerful ice technique, our hero was only able to take off 100 units of health. The ruler was very angry. Yao decided to use the fire element. The young man will have to rely only on his agility to be able to counterattack while dodging. Fire attacks dealt slightly less damage. The guy watched the monster's behavior after each attack. Yao ordered one of the guys to help the young man, but he only replied that they would only get in Zhang Yue's way. The monster was too fast. The young man sharply dodged another attack. The Lord raised his weapon above his head. Yu realized that things were not going well. At the last seconds, the guy pulled away. Suddenly, the ruler was struck by pink lightning. It was Su Yuan. She suggested that as usual, they should be in support, and the guy himself should be in attack. Yue immediately took a step and prepared to strike. The enemy staggered from the enemy's attacks. The High Guild was surprised that Yuan and Yue were so good together that they understood each other without words. Yao believed that only one person could harm this monster, and that was our hero. The young master decided to recruit a girl and a boy into his guild. The ruler was roasting in the fire. Due to frequent attacks, the monster only became angrier. Fortunately, the health of the ruler was practically at zero. Su asked to attack one last time. The young man suddenly announced that he was the one who changed the secret kingdom. This statement surprised the girl. Su Yuan understood everything. The young lady used her power. With the help of fiery light, she chained the monster. In an instant, the lord disappeared. The level of everyone present at the location has been increased. The system congratulated Su Yuan on clearing the 15th level realm. Everyone was very happy about the victory. Yo rushed towards our hero with hugs, but was pushed away. Hearing that he had prevented Sen from being murdered, the young master began to think about what they should do next. Yao offered to pay the young man $1 million as compensation. Besides money, the young master had a dream of gathering all the strongest players and creating the most powerful guild in the world. Yue recoiled from the pressure and asked his interlocutor to leave him alone. The Liu family had good connections with the family of the best blacksmiths in the Dragon Kingdom, the Su family. Our hero was surprised when he heard that the Su family were blacksmiths. Yao said that his father and the head of the Su family are longtime friends. He is looking to provide Yue with the equipment he wants. The young man thought, blacksmiths always forged equipment of better quality than what he usually bought. Yao offered to be friends for now, and he would help him with equipment in any case. Su Yuan and Yue went to leave the kingdom after the young man agreed to be friends. Everyone who had cleared the dungeons was already there and was discussing this. Su Yuan became even more popular. Chen began to intervene in the conversation, saying that the girl was the leader of their guild. She was their strength. The assistant said that since Yuan killed the boss, it meant that Zhang Yue was definitely still alive, which greatly upset the guildmaster. Since they couldn't kill our hero, it was decided to entrust this task to others. The assistant did not understand what this meant. Last year, several veterans of the game were stuck in the third world. Their minimum level reached 30. Chen decided that they were supposed to meet his family. The man decided to kill our hero in the third world. At this time, Yue and Yuan were walking slowly through the forest. The girl was worried that because of the guildmaster's attitude, she could become an enemy to the young man. He only replied that a person should be responsible only for his own actions and that he had only one enemy, Chen Jun. The young lady assured that they would not help Yue's enemy. Also, Jinyan said that the loot belongs to our hero since he allowed her to deal the final blow. It was decided that if he uses equipment and skill books later, his health and attack will increase significantly. An announcement appeared in the sky that a level 15 horde was approaching Norden. This surprised our heroes. The guy was even glad, because as soon as Tony overcomes the horde, the world task will be completed and then he will be able to go to the third world. The girl suggested going back to prepare a little for the fight. Then a girl rushed past Su Yuan. It was Lin. She didn't understand what she had done wrong and asked to be forgiven. The young man did not understand what the girl was talking about. Lin informed Liu Yao that she was no longer needed. Su Yuan decided to ask if the young master had thrown her out. It irritated her. Lin admitted that she thought Yue was poor, but what girl doesn't want to live peacefully with a rich man by her side? The young lady praised the young man. She offered to put aside all their differences and promised to make the guy happy. Yu chuckled. Su Yuan watched everything from the side and reported that the young man had no dignity. From the forest came the screams of monsters. The guys tensed up. While Lin panicked that they were unprepared, Su reported that she had some time to meditate. Yuki told Lin to leave. Since all roads were open to him, he didn't need a weakling like her. The girl said that the guy had changed. He wouldn't have told her that before. A horde of zombies was already heading towards our hero. Su Yuan immediately began to repel the attacks of her opponents. There were too many undead for the young huntress to hold them back any longer. Yu summoned an armored scorpion and ordered it to stand next to Jinyan. The pet immediately took a defensive position after appearing. The undead could not break through the defense. The young man activated his staff, calling upon fiery energy. In an instant, the zombies were also on fire. Yui called out a cry for help. Lin was captured by monsters. Yuan rushed to help, but she was stopped by the young man's hand. Yu said that Lin could no longer be saved, and if Jinyan went there, she would be swept away by the wave. The girl realized that she would not be saved. Yuan realized that the girl had used all her powers to revive. Having finished with Lin, the undead moved towards our heroes. Yu reported that they had no time to mourn the dead. The guy still felt empty. She arose for a moment from memories of her past life together. The undead were everywhere. The hunters fought proudly without lowering their swords. The girl was curious why the horde never ended. The system window reminded me of the task and mission. Yue had just received 400,000 after clearing the secret realm. In order to quickly penetrate the third world, he had to find a secret passage. Having opened the portal, the young man asked Yuen to restore himself because the full force was almost over. When asked where he was, the guy replied that he had some business to do. The young lady wanted to go with him and see. Yue decided to check out the hospital a week before the undead horde ended. Dust rose after the doors opened. The zombies smelled the human scent. The guy was serious. He immediately summoned an armored scorpion. Purple energy emanated from the hospital clearing. Coins were given for pacifying the undead. The system congratulated the guy on clearing the hospital. The second world mission was completed. The boss appeared. The monster was glad that they gave him coins so that he could reach the legendary level. The guy himself had new skills, and his attack and health also increased. One of the attacks was a level A lightning magic. The other was to improve the staff, Purgatory Demon Blade. The guy was attracted by the letter he received. It was Yuan. She reported that the undead horde was over, and Yao also wrote to report about the boss. With a limiter mage, the team would have had a better chance of winning, but Liu Yao still helped our heroes several times while defending the fortress. The guy created a chat and said that they would meet at the entrance to the Undead Emperor's Hall in 15 minutes. At the appointed time, the guys met with Yao and his guild. Su Yuan asked why the young master had brought so many people. The guy said that even though she was strong, they still had a meeting with the final boss of the second world ahead of them, and therefore it was better to be vocal about everything. Yue agreed since it was more comfortable for Liu. The system reported that the guys can summon the boss of the second world if the heroes agree. It reports this to the main communication channel. Once the hunters defeat the boss, the entrance to the third world will open. The young man summoned a fireball. With it, Yue clicked agree on the system window. The gates opened before the hunters. The gate showed the place where the battle would take place. The boss has been summoned. The young man and the girl were ready to meet the boss. Yao called his guild after their boss, more specifically Zhang Yue. The hunters entered the portal. In this world, the sun was covered by clouds. The level 20 boss decided to take over the buildings. After passing through the portal, the guys found themselves on the roof of one of the houses. The undead emperor sensed a living spirit. The high guild was amazed that the boss was so huge. The guy asked everyone not to move and said that it would be better for them to move away, otherwise the boss could destroy them. The girl immediately agreed and did not contradict the guy. Our hero called upon an armored scorpion to help. The pet was ready to fight. The undead boss wanted to kill everyone. The enemy headed towards our heroes. The scorpion took off. The monster lost several units of health from the pet's attack. Yu himself summoned the fire element. With her help, the guy caused a lot of damage thanks to the new equipment. Now the boss fight feels like a fight with a powerful monster, and Yue has encountered one like that before. The boss was very angry. In response, he dealt a big blow to the pet. Since the monster believes that the human race seeks death, then he will show what he is capable of. The boss attacked using his limbs. The monster's paw turned into tentacles. With their help, the enemy destroyed the building where the Supreme Guild was located. The pet attacked again to protect its owner. He immediately received an answer and flew away slightly. However, he was unable to maintain his balance and slid further. Yao ordered the guild members to heal one of the strongest fighters, namely Scorpion. The doctors immediately set to work. The monster was enjoying playing with his new toys. Before the pet had time to return to the battle, he too began to pour water on his owner. Su Yuan also started to help. Thanks to the fact that the girl was holding the monster, Scorpio continued to attack him. The young lady asked our hero to repeat the debt because she would not be able to restrain the monster. Yu summoned 2 elements at once. Because of this, the monster received quite a lot of damage. Yao was shocked that our hero dealt with the 3-star monster so quickly. Yu said that it was time to finish with the monster. Lightning appeared in the sky. The new technique was aimed at the enemy, enveloping him completely. Only smoke rose into the air. The undead boss has fallen. The fall raised dust. Yao and Yuan were glad that their comrade was able to defeat such a strong monster. The young man seemed to be floating in the clouds. After some time, the monster rose up, which meant that he died. The system reported that the boss of the second world, the undead emperor, was subject to heaven and earth. Nobody understood what was starting to happen. Everything was starting to collapse. Still, the enemy did not die, but was no longer on the brink. The undead boss said that he would drag all the humans along with him to hell. Yao was scared because he no longer had the resurrection scrolls, and if he died, it would be forever. The portal back opened too far, and our hero won't have time to reach it. The guy looked at his pet and had an idea. First, Yue grabbed the whining Yao, following Su Yuan's surprise. Having got into a comfortable position, the guy said that there was no time to explain. After these words, the couple of comrades took off. The pet was slightly surprised and wanted to understand what the owner wanted. Yu ordered to use his power and throw them to the portal. Scorpio grabbed the two friends, scolding them slightly. Yao didn't understand what kind of terrible joke his new friend had decided to test. A couple of seconds later, the guys were already flying to the desired point. Liu Yao screamed in fear, and so the guys flew through the portal. While the young master was thinking about himself, the girl was worried about Yue. The ground beneath our hero and pet began to crumble. The young man ordered Scorpio to use all his power and throw him out of this world, wrapping it so that he would have time to call him back and take him with him. A second later, Yue was in flight. As promised, the guy called the pet back. The ground where the heroes had just been broke apart. The portal has already begun to close. But then an obstacle appeared between Yue and the exit. A pillar rose from the lava. This appearance of the enemy disrupted the pace of our hero. A fireball appeared in his hand. A staff with fire appeared from it. The blow hit the target. The boys were worried that the portal was disappearing, but their friend was not there yet. But then something flew out of the portal. The hunters were glad to see our hero. The guy managed to group himself and was not injured. When the dust cleared, a smile could be seen on the young man's face. The guys rushed to their friend asking about his condition. The system congratulated each hunter on their victory over the boss of the second world. Liu Yao was very happy. He thanked his friend and promised to give 1 million as a reward. The guy agreed and said that since the mission was completed, he would go home and rest. Su Yuan stopped Yue. She reported that Chen had left the guild and would therefore seek revenge. Got it. The girl thanked her for the information. Yu left, and at this time Yao proposed to unite with Yuan and pass the third world. Third world, approaching death. In this world, everything was in graves and a crack appeared in one of them. A hand emerged from the grave. The Supreme Guild appeared in the third world safe zone. The Supreme Guild was the first normal class group to enter the third world. Someone stepped on the young gentleman's hand. The guy started screaming in pain. A group of men asked Yao to bring Zhang Yue since he was traveling with him. The young gentleman did not understand why some stranger put himself above himself. The assistant said that the man did not look like a very nice person, so he offered to bring Yue, but he was refused. The stranger took out his weapon. Yao was in a state of shock. The blade was aimed straight at the young master's body. But the attack failed. The newcomers were protected, and the men were also surprised that the youth were able to clear the second world without even reaching level 20. Yao was glad that the new player's defense had a 10-level boost. Otherwise, he would have died already. Having heard about the escape, the stranger said that it would be difficult to escape from them. If one player was able to kill the top guild, it doesn't mean that others can't, and a couple of men attacked the guys. The attacks were carried out by the killer warriors. The assistant reported that there were mercenaries in front of them. The man gave one last chance to bring Zhang Yue. At this time, our hero was inquiring about his brother's medical bills. The doctors assured him that the payment had been made and that they would take care of his brother. After finishing the conversation, the young man noticed a message from Liu that he had sent compensation, thanks to which the guy could not worry about debts. But suddenly Yue's phone rang. It was one of the Yao Guild members. He was asking for help, screaming that the leader was dying. Soon, only 2 people remained from the guild. One of the mercenaries noticed that someone was coming. It was Zhang Yue. The young man demanded that Yao be released. The man said that someone would pay a lot of money for Yue's life, so only one would survive. Yao started shouting that he would pay more if they were released. The commander started yelling at one of the guys when he thought about Liu's proposal. The man ordered to kill our hero because he was just a tamer. The guy rushed into battle. Yu quickly dodged, and then he attacked. The enemy was thrown back by the ice attack. The guy soon turned into an icicle. Another guy rushed to help his comrade. Next, the fire element was chosen. The second enemy became friends in the fire. The guy was serious. The man didn't understand how a low-level person could kill a level 25 hunter. Yu felt that someone was behind him. The system reported that our hero received damage from the attack skill Sinister Strike of the Assassin class. Yue assumed a fighting stance. The man was surprised that the young man survived his blow. The enemy rushed at our hero. A level 30 assassin's agility is higher than Yue's, and the blow is too close for him to dodge. The guy summoned Scorpio. The pet managed to repel the attack. The attack clearly angered the monster. Suddenly, Scorpio disappeared and the enemy was too close. The guy understood that this was the end. The man was glad that everything would end quickly. Suddenly, the enemy stopped. Su Gwen deserves credit for this. The man was surprised. Yue was determined to destroy the enemy. The enemy was frightened and confused. Soon, he was already on fire. Yu spared no effort. The man suffered severe burns. He didn't understand how a level 20 tamer could deal such damage to him, considering he had level 30 gold armor. Yui thanked the girl because she had already appeared several times at critical moments to save him. The girl assumed that they were connected by fate, but in fact, she was monitoring Zhang Yue's status. Liu apologized for disturbing our hero. Yuan was sure that Chen Jun was behind this. He had been acting strangely lately, and she had long suspected that he was up to something. Liu said that he knew the people who attacked them. They were from a group of killers. It was a small guild of assassins that had been formed 10 years earlier and included over 50 assassins. Liu was surprised that they hadn't been able to reach a higher level for 10 years. The guy explained that once they reach level 30, they then need to go through the second and ascension, and until they go through it, they will never be able to get a higher level. The assistant reported that the leaders had been hiding in the third world for a long time, surviving by robbing newly emerging hunters. Liu was angry that ordinary people were being robbed for money, but he wondered why they didn't let him go when he offered a large sum. Yu reported that this time the opponents lost, but he was confident that they would come back better prepared. The young master didn't know what to do because the difference in strength was great. The guy asked if the blacksmith family would help him forge a couple of pieces of equipment. The young man placed his hand on Yao's shoulder. It is stated that anyone up to level 20 will do. However, there is another condition. They must have the demon heart effect, and the sooner they get it, the better. Liu said that everything would be fine, but asked why they needed such equipment. Our hero replied that their life in the third world would depend on this equipment. At this time in the real world, Chen was angry that the level 30 assassins lost to some level 20 tamer. Mercenary leader Shashu Peiqi reported that perhaps his comrades had acted too carelessly because they had accidentally fallen into someone else's trap. Chen threateningly asked not to steal from him anymore, otherwise they would find out what the last ones were. Shashu understood everything. At this time, in the third world, Yue was studying something using the light of the staff. At his current level, taking on a group of assassins alone would be suicide. The once thriving human capital turned into a cemetery after the deadly Caesar came into contact with it. Death's Descent deals 88 points of damage to the tomb where our hero was located. The deadly Caesar attacks the third world in random bursts every night at exactly 12 o'clock. Its attacks lasting 10 minutes. Everyone, including the killers, retreated to their tombs to avoid his attacks. This was the only chance to deal with them. But for now, it was decided to wait for news from Liu Yao. The guy was bothered by the letter. Liu reported that the equipment was ready. There was a huge moon above the cemetery. Yo ran happily to hand over the equipment. Our hero was surprised by the speed. He didn't think that all the equipment would be made in one day. The young gentleman said that his father was a very good friend of the blacksmith family, and moreover, he said that it was urgent. Yue admired the 20th level demon heart staff. Yao asked our hero to follow him to battle them. The guild members said that the assassins were hiding in a safe zone. The system notified that the tomb of the Holy Light would be attacked by Caesar in 5 minutes. Liu informed the guild that death was almost upon them and they needed to return to their tomb. But then he noticed that mercenaries were heading towards them. Yue assured that the enemies would not attack in the safe zone. Shashu promised to deal with our heroes as soon as they left this zone. Zhang Yue reminded the boys to hide in the tombs. He also asked not to leave the tomb of the Holy Light until he returned, but the guy himself decided to return to the second world to level up better. Without saying anything else, the young man went to the gate. Liu Yao didn't understand what his friend was planning. The cemetery was engulfed in smoke. Something began to appear from the red smoke. The monster began to look around. Something huge came out of the fog. She was heading straight towards the cemetery, where hunters were hiding in the tombs. Our hero walked among the ruins. He found what he was looking for. The Undertaker of Life revealed that the deadly Caesar had reappeared to desecrate the Holy Light Cemetery. Yui offered his help. His appearance surprised the man. The NPC asked if the young man could go to the City of Death, to the Eastern Cemetery of the Holy Light, and destroy the army of skeletons. In these days of disaster and panic, the boy had no idea when the skeleton invasion would end. This army was one of the main forces. Our hero decided that since they cannot allow themselves to be twisted as they please, the man supported Yue and said that he was expecting good news from him. The quest to clash with death was received. With the Holy Light Cemetery constantly under threat from the deadly Caesar, the ruler of death, hunters are invited to visit the city of death and destroy the skeletal army. During the invasion of the deadly Caesar, if you leave the territory of the Holy Light Cemetery, then only one outcome awaits you: death. The monster attacked with a scream. Yue easily defended himself. Due to Caesar's attack on our hero's grave, the cemetery's defense has decreased by 121 points. Fortunately, Yue asked Liu Yao to improve his equipment. The Demon Heart's effect provided the perfect resistance to Caesar's death. The upgrade granted immunity to his attacks. The young man learned about this by accident in a past life while exploring the fourth world. In the third world, such equipment can only be forged by an experienced blacksmith. Thanks to Liu Yao's connections with the legendary forges, Yue obtained much better equipment this time than he had in his previous life. The guy promised to return soon. Part of the cemetery was covered by a dome. Liu noticed that Caesar was really strong, but his assistant said that if they didn't rise to the next level, it would be the end for them. The mercenary commander began to make fun of the young master, hinting that if Liu leaves the protective zone, he will never be able to enter the third world again. Paitsy said it was important to take advantage of the opportunity and go out to level up. Chen reminded him that the goal was to capture Zhang Yue, so don't forget that and teach him. Peiki said that he was protecting Cheng, but if he dared to touch even a hair on Chiqi's head, he would not get away with it so easily. Cheng advised Liu Yao to hand over Zhang Yue to them as soon as possible. The young master was irritated by Cheng looking down on everyone, given his high rank. Soon Su Yuan came running, saying that she had something to tell our hero. When the girl heard that he had taken the equipment and run away, she couldn't believe it. Guild members began accusing Yue of colluding with the mercenaries. Liu Yao ordered to stop talking nonsense. Then a message came from Yue asking for a favor. Yao began to boast that our hero was expecting help from him, which irritated Su. Liu reported that he had learned everything. The young gentleman asked us to tell him the location of our hero if he trusted him, and he immediately received an answer. Meanwhile, in Death City, according to the data, most of the residents of Death City were between level 25 and 28, so the girl doubted that they would be able to easily deal with them. Suddenly, a dead man's hand appeared from under the ground. Following the hand, the whole body appeared. The enemy was chained thanks to the ice cone technique. Su Yuan recognized the voice. The ice magic belonged to the only known owner of this voice. It was Zhang Yue who came to the girl's aid. Then the monster was engulfed in flames. The young lady looked at the young man with loving eyes, because he had come to save her again. The man who died at the hands of the deadly Caesar turned into a skeleton that had long slumbered underground by disturbing him. You condemn yourself to his reawakening. The mercenaries wanted to know exactly what their mission was, but Peiki said that no matter what happened to Zhang Yue, as long as Cheng paid, they were obliged to fulfill any conditions. The leader wanted to take revenge on our hero for what he did to him, deciding to kill Yue and deprive him of the opportunity for a decent burial. Someone in a robe was wandering around the cemetery. Paitsy noticed the escape and shouted loudly, which frightened his subordinates. The fugitive realized that he had been captured. The man called his opponent a scared little fool and suggested that he meet his death right there. The man in the cloak ran up to Liu Yao. The young gentleman asked if he had revealed himself when he ran up. It was one of the Angie Guild members. He said that he didn't remember anything, mentioning that the mercenaries were cursing some guy named Zhang Yue and wanted to kill him. Yao thanked the young man for his help, promising to transfer the money to the account and reminding him to keep everything secret. Rudo was outraged to learn that Zhang Yue wanted to use the illusion they had created in the cemetery, because if Liu told the mercenaries, they might lift the blockade of the High Guild. The young gentleman explained that our hero wanted them to wait for him all together in the safe zone. When Rudo began to scold Liu again, he could not stand it and ordered him to shut up. The young man believed in his own judgment. Zhang Yue was trustworthy. At this time, in the City of Death, Su Yuan thanked our hero. She noticed that he had leveled up again. Yue confirmed and said that it was only by 1 unit, considering it too slow a growth. Su was shocked to hear it called slow, since it had only been 2 days and such progress had been made. Initially, the cemetery's defense could only withstand 3 attacks from the Death God. So in 2 nights, if the people in the Holy Cemetery did not die at the hands of the mercenaries, they would die at the hands of the Death God. Upon learning that Su Yuan had the potion, he offered to pay 120% of the store price. The girl opened the inventory. Sue took out 6 bottles of the necessary medicine, which her older sister supplied her with. The girl asked if the young man really needed a potion to level up faster and thus increase his strength, and received an affirmative answer. But there are certain limits beyond which a person cannot overcome, and the young lady became curious whether it would be possible to accomplish this in such a short time. Zhang Yak had no other choice. Sue asked to be allowed to help the guy, warning that the monsters would be high level and it was extremely risky. Sue explained that there was no need to worry, because her sister had gifted her with a new set of equipment that increased her attack and defense levels. Yue wasn't surprised, knowing that she was willing to spend hundreds of thousands of coins, preferring to look elegant. The girl will have to significantly support our hero, because their joint effectiveness increases significantly. But the main thing is that Jinyan's safety must remain intact. The system confirmed the task once again. Judging by the progress of our heroes, there will be a difficult battle ahead, but it will allow us to level up and upgrade our equipment. In the third world, Yue passed through the secret realm of the 25th level, Skeleton Island. The girl proudly declared that she would accompany the young man to defeat the secret kingdom, and Yue himself chose a place on the map. The gates have opened. Our heroes headed inside. A moment later, they were there. An atmosphere of terror hung everywhere. The heroes were greeted by the NPC magician Lao Rue. The magician asked if they had come to help the old man fight face-to-face with the local monsters. Having received an affirmative answer, Lao handed over the stone, hoping that the heroes would not die due to their own carelessness. The young man found himself in the hands of the Order of the Secret Kingdom of Skeleton Island. For each skeleton killed, the owner of the order received by Yue can receive 10 attempts at restoration. Each such attempt requires 20 units of alternative energy. After completing all attempts, there will be a chance to receive a golden order. The item is automatically bound to the owner and cannot be exchanged or dropped. Noticing the change in the young man's expression, Sue became nervous. Was the task really that difficult? While killing the monsters, the girl noted with alarm that she could handle it, as the recovery rate was high, but she would have to spend a lot of alternative energy, which ordinary people simply did not have. Yue asked the girl not to worry. The least of his worries right now was the lack of alternative energy. The guys didn't hesitate and began to destroy the level 25 skeleton guards. The joint attack of our heroes was perfectly coordinated. The impact raised a cloud of dust. Taking a breath, Sue asked if the order status had changed, but received a negative answer, and the guy suggested continuing. After some time, the order changed to gold status. The boys had to level up in the secret kingdom on Skeleton Island within 2 hours. Otherwise, the order would be lost forever. The chance of receiving an advanced golden secret order is less than 1 in 1,000. Based on the time, the god of death should arrive on the island soon. The guys have accumulated a significant amount of defense points, so one attack on the safe zone will not be a serious problem. Certain types of equipment drop exclusively in high-level underground levels, giving hunters more options to successfully confront a group of mercenaries. The system notified that Yue had used the secret order to upgrade the Skeleton Island realm to a hidden realm. The next notification informed about the unlocking of a quest, the goal of which was to kill 40 skeleton warriors and defeat the Guardian Skeleton General Hero. Yue asked his companion to be careful as monsters were approaching. The fog rose. From it emerged General Skeleton Hera, level 26. Hera summoned the Dark Warriors, giving the order to eliminate those who dared to disturb the peace of his army. The skeletons rushed into battle. Our heroes became wary. Yue noted that it would be difficult to cope, since the warriors were teaming up with General Skeleton, whose level was equal to the commander's, and the first step was to remove the group of enemies from the battle. The skeletons moved in a dense mass. Yue and the girl started running. When asked how many people the girl would be able to control using the full power of her abilities, she admitted that she had never had such experience before. Yue decided to lure the troops away, and the young lady was to find shelter and subjugate as many enemies as possible in order to make the guy's job easier and speed up the process of destroying the enemy. The army was engulfed in flames. Yu put maximum effort into the attack. However, the army of skeletons remained safe and sound. The guy dodged the attack. Following this, a call to prepare was issued to Su Yuan. The warriors found themselves trapped in a sphere. Jinyan held them back and demanded that they act quickly, claiming that she would not be able to hold off the enemy forces for long. The young man was preparing to deliver the decisive blow. Yu combined fire energy and ice abilities. The army was trapped in a circle of fire where it met with defeat. Hera became angry when he saw his soldiers die. Therefore, the general decided that human blood should wash away the shame of the army's death. Despite his impressive stats and powerful abilities, Yue's skills are still on cooldown, and if Hera hits the guy, their entire plan will collapse. Repeated mind control consumes a huge amount of energy. Hera quickly rushed towards our heroes. The spear tip hovered just centimeters from Yue's face. Su Yuan did everything possible to avoid tragedy. Thanks to the girl's actions, the blow missed the young man's body. At close range, the spear will lose its deadly power. The general found himself attacked from two sides simultaneously. Some of Hera's clothes fell to the ground with a loud sound. The attacks provoked indignation among the enemy. The young man had previously expended a lot of energy trying to destroy the general, but to no avail. Yue was counting on the young lady's support. The girl asked what was required of her. Hera dismounted from his horse. A group from the guild appeared in front of the secret kingdom. Because the secret realm had already been activated and the rules had changed, the guild members were unable to enter. Peiqi tried to object, but upon hearing that Chen intended to find out who had stolen the kingdom's treasures, he received a stern look and an order to remain silent. Everyone was expecting a guy to appear, but a girl suddenly appeared from the portal. The system congratulated Su Yuan on successfully completing the quest, clearing the hidden secret realm of the 25th level. Chen was surprised when he met Jinyan's gaze. The man asked if she had indeed activated the kingdom and received an affirmative answer. Accused of obstructing aid, Su sharply rejected the offer, saying she did not need any support. Realizing that the girl was not inclined to talk, Chen chose not to interfere any further. Meanwhile, someone's voice was heard. Su Yan tensed up. Peiqi informed the audience that people usually don't know that a person can activate hidden realms and clear them on their own, and asked directly if the girl was alone. Jinyan said that she completed the mission together with her best friend, who discovered the secret kingdom, and the girl herself was the first to pass the test. Peiqi continued to insist, asking about his friend's whereabouts. Su frankly replied that she had left the scene. Irritated by the interrogation, the girl sarcastically emphasized that she was being treated as a suspect, and Chen hastened to explain that Peiqi was acting as a bodyguard and could not act otherwise. The man followed the girl, offering to share his dinner with her, but was refused. After Su left, Chen investigated whether Zhang Yue was still in the safe zone, as witnesses reported seeing him trying to get out. But the way was blocked by soldiers guarding the exit. The man rejoiced at the arrival of the third night, believing that at midnight, when the Reaper struck, the cemetery's defenses would fall and our hero would inevitably perish. At this time, Su Yuan was rushing through the forest. The girl went deeper into the thicket and called out to Zhang Yue. The guy stepped out from behind the rock. A conversation ensued between them about Chen having carried out a large number of assassinations, including the most powerful representatives of the Third World. Now it's clear why Yue asked the girl to finish the final battle with the boss. He wanted to hide his own role in what was happening. The young man apologized, admitting that he couldn't openly appear at this stage. Otherwise, he would bring unnecessary trouble. Thus, he was indebted to Su for such a cunning strategy. The young lady assured him that everything was fine, after which she decided to rest and inspect the trophies she had obtained. A-class magic shield strengthens mana, preventing attacks from hitting the caster or their ally from a distance of about 30 meters. As long as the boys don't run into Chen Zhen's men on their way back to the Holy Light Cemetery to complete the quest, they'll be able to reach level 25 without any problems. The guy reassured Su, saying that there was no reason to worry. They would definitely overcome all the difficulties. The girl listened attentively. To distract herself, Yuan showed off the bliss scrolls she had received from the first quest. Quests in the alternative world are divided into 3 categories: normal, secret, and blissful. The scrolls of bliss were linked to monetary rewards, so the girl came to the conclusion that they needed to replenish their supply since they had spent a lot on purchasing potions. Soon the scroll was activated, but something went wrong. A monster has appeared. The Bliss quest has been updated with the addition of a new boss in the City of the Dead, the Golden Skeleton King. Yue explained that upgrading a task meant losing the standard rewards, and if the task was not completed, the reward would be lost. Normally, our hero would improve the task without a second thought, but if Chen is nearby, all the guy's success will go down the drain. Secret missions were rare and difficult to detect, and Su Yuan was puzzled by the young man's hesitation, so she suggested completing the mission before the enemy could react. Yu agreed. The young man activated confirmation mode. The reward will go to the one who defeats the Golden Skeleton King. The time to complete the task was exactly 1 hour. The girl was pleased with the prospect of doubling her experience, getting a full set of equipment, a skill book, and a pet egg. But difficulties arose. Destroying the monster together within the allotted time seemed like a difficult task. Someone from behind shouted out, rejoicing at the discovery of the boss's shroud point. Yue managed to cover Jinyan's mouth so that she wouldn't attract attention with unnecessary noise. Both heroes took cover behind a rock, watching as Chen and the guild members appeared in the clearing. Peiki looked shocked at the sight of a level 28 three-digit boss that could instantly send Chen to his ancestors. The monster looked like a killing machine. Chen ordered his men to weaken the boss, leaving the finishing blow for himself, causing discontent among the fighters. Peiki ordered the second and third squads to provide distraction, the healer to maintain defensive effects and heal the team, and the mercenaries to deal the main damage to the boss. The young man rushed forward. The first blow landed on the chest. The skeleton writhed in pain. The enemy also responded with a counterattack. Peiki ordered the doctor to remove the effects of the attack. The skeleton was exposed to a purple glow that caused significant damage to its health. Su Wen wondered if our hero really wanted to let the enemies fight the boss to weaken his stamina. The young man himself described the situation as a praying mantis hunting a cicada, unaware that an oriole is standing behind it. The magicians attacked from afar. People were assertive but remained cautious around the monster. The mercenaries continued to advance, giving the boss no respite. Due to the professional and regular infliction of damage, the boss suffered significant health losses. It was no surprise to our heroes that even a small group of experienced assassins could inflict colossal damage. Peitzi felt the air filled with a special tension. Chen cried out when he noticed his comrades had stopped and insistently demanded that the fight continue. Peitzi glanced towards the speaker. One of the mercenaries addressed the boss, noting that he was unbearable. Peitzi ordered someone to launch an attack towards the potential enemy. Yue realized that their position had been exposed. The shelter our heroes had used instantly crumbled to pieces. Gradually, the dust settled. Su Yuan never expected that they would be handed over so quickly. Peitzi expressed disappointment that the team considered them fools. Chen couldn't understand how the young man appeared in front of them, since he remained in the safe zone, and he was especially surprised by Jinyan's presence next to Yue. The girl reminded the man that her affairs and personal space were none of his business. Chen was seething with anger. The man ordered Peiki to kill Zhang Yue, guaranteeing the release of his daughter after completing the task. Peitzi was shocked by what he heard. The mercenary leader sent the rest of the group from the safe zone to help. Peitzi himself attacked our hero. Yuki noticed his opponent's high speed. The young man missed a blow and was injured. Our hero successfully dodged the next blow. By leaving the safe zone, Yue gave Peiki the right to manage his life. But then the unexpected happened. The man was attacked. Su Wen had no intention of standing by and watching the enemy oppress the weak. Yue kept up with his companion and launched his own attack, combining various attack methods. Peitzi found himself at the very center of the confluence of attacking streams. The man couldn't imagine where Yue got such destructive power from. But at that moment, the mercenaries called Peiki, declaring that they could not cope with the boss alone. An unusual sign appeared in the sky above our heads. The hero's thoughts were occupied with searching for a way to evade the attacks of the incomprehensible circle. Peitzi didn't know what to do next. The place where the enemy had recently been located turned out to be empty. The man hurried to join his mercenaries. Yue pointed out that it was necessary to distract the squad and destroy the boss themselves. At this time at the Holy Light Cemetery, Liu Yao's guild was trying to decide on their next course of action, as they needed to get out of there alive as quickly as possible. Suddenly, something unusual caught the attention of the guild members. The departure of the mercenaries brought joy to the souls of the remaining guild members. Liu Yao was puzzled by what had happened and assumed that the mercenaries had managed to locate Yue. The young leader believed our hero's promises that he would free them before nightfall, but if Yue was blocked by assassins, the situation would become critical. The guild members expressed surprise at hearing that their leader was incapable of deviating from the principles of justice. Liu Yao ordered that all guild members be immediately gathered and sent to the City of the Dead. The comrades did not know whether to consider their leader's honesty an advantage or a disadvantage. The boss was about to strike again. The mercenaries rushed forward. Peiki tasked the healer with maintaining position and maintaining buffs, leaving the rest of the responsibility to himself. The healer used the flowing light ability. The skeleton decided to first attack the one who was healing his friends. The sudden impact sent pebbles and clouds of dust flying upward. Our heroes were preparing to enter the battle. The boss realized that he was surrounded on both sides, with Yue and Jinyan on one side and Peiki on the other. Each warrior took a fighting stance. All three decided to fight to the last. Chen realized that now he had to wait for the killers to arrive. The monster made its first attack. Yue and Su quickly moved to the side. They maintained the same tactics, and Su Yuan struck first. She grabbed the skeleton. This moment became Yue's only chance to make a clean strike. But then an unexpected element intervened in the form of Peizi. The young man was forced to pay attention to a new danger. A fireball appeared in the air. Using fireballs, Yue tried to hit Peiqi, who was actively maneuvering. The man couldn't understand who dared to interfere with his plans to eliminate Yue. These intruders turned out to be guys from the Supreme Guild, sent by Liu Yao. Peizi was confused, not understanding who had arrived and where his comrades were. The guild members immediately entered the battle. The mercenaries were ordered to kill all who arrived. The guild members were instantly attacked. Yue also did not stand aside and struck back. The boss put up a defense with his hands. Peiqi was puzzled by how Yue had such strength when his level was only 20. Now only a skeleton remained in front of Yue. The mercenary leader was enraged by this outcome and rushed towards our heroes. Su Wen defended her partner. The man was immediately paralyzed by an electric discharge. Peiqi didn't kill the girl earlier only out of respect for Chen Jin. But since she wishes to die, he has no right to refuse to fulfill her wish. The man easily broke the imposed bonds. As the chains were released, a cloud of dust rose. Su Yuan received a direct blow to the heart. Yue was stunned by what happened. He did not expect such an ending. Before disappearing, the girl whispered to him not to stop fighting. Very soon after this, Su disintegrated into tiny particles. Yu felt a terrible rage. All the young man's hatred was directed at the monster. He mobilized his remaining forces. Having finished with the girl, Peizi continued to pursue our hero. The skeleton swung his sword from above, but suddenly a shield appeared in front of him. As a final attack, Yue released the power of the demon heart. The blow reached the chest area. The young man absolutely believed in the success of this strike. The boss flew far back. The system solemnly congratulated the 28th level Golden Skeleton King on his victory. All that remained of the enemy was fiery dust. The Skeleton King hunt quest has been completed. Liu Yao was sure that Zhang Yue was involved in the boss's murder and hurried his companions. Luckily, while clearing the secret world, our hero mastered a defense skill that allowed him to repel the boss's final attack. Now I need to complete the quest to level up, and it was decided to start with collecting loot. Killing the Golden Skeleton King caused the Necromancer to manifest a special effect. The young man was asked if he would like to tame the boss as a pet. Yue answered in the affirmative. Chen ordered Peiqi to deliver the loot to him, threatening to kill his daughter. The man rushed towards our hero. Yue asked not to rush, because soon Peiqi would also start to go crazy. The man struck, cutting through the air where our hero had just stood. Chen was furious and began to urge the mercenary leader on. Peizi pushed the man away in anger. Chen fell heavily to the ground. The mercenary warned that if Chen laid even a finger on his daughter, he would tear him to pieces. The man immediately began to justify himself, claiming that he had meant something completely different. Peiqi emphasized that he could destroy Yue at any moment. When Liu Yao arrived, he couldn't believe that Yue had escaped. Peiqi gave the order to kill the Supreme Guild, but Chen stopped him. Liu was considered a great bait for Yue, according to the man. The system notified that a reward for completing the quest had been received. Yue was next to Lao Rui at this time. Our hero had no idea that the boss could be turned into a pet through training, and with such an assistant, he could easily deal with ordinary enemies. His attention was drawn to the window that appeared. The High Guild has sent a message. It stated that Liu Yao had risked his life and Yue had an obligation to save him. Su Yuan warned that Chen had set a trap and asked them not to approach him without her. The guy said that he didn't need help. It was Yue's turn to settle scores with everyone. Liu Yao found himself surrounded. Peiqi and Chen waited for our hero to arrive. The young master was brutally beaten and begged Yue to save him. Finally, the hero everyone was waiting for appeared. Chen was delighted to hear that the young man had fallen for the threats. Yao tearfully begged Yue for help. Our hero stated that since he had arrived here, the opponents must first release the young man. The men prepared to attack. Peiqi suggested that they attack together once Zhang Yue got close. The mercenary leader gave the signal to begin the battle. First, as promised, the squad freed Liu Yao. The guy immediately ran to his hero and began loudly demanding that he not leave him. The young man asked the young gentleman to leave first. Liu suggested that they run away together since they were unable to defeat the assassins. Yue asked the guy to just leave and not bother him. Liu Yao added that he would try to reach the city and call for reinforcements from the guild that provided the resurrection procedure, no matter what the price he had to pay. The mercenaries grouped together, intending to quickly end the confrontation. Yue stood opposite them. The young man decided to play ahead and force the guys to attack faster. Paitsy also had no intention of prolonging the conflict. They decided to strike from behind. Yue used the summoning technique. The staff touched the ground, completing the technique. A dark skeleton appeared out of nowhere. The young man decided to go all in and summon the Golden Skeleton King. Peiki and Chen were extremely surprised, not understanding how the guy managed to summon the Golden Skeleton King. Yue was quick to point out that this was possible thanks to their assistance. Although Yue himself had only reached level 25, the Skeleton King was a true level 31st elite, and Silver Scorpion's combat potential was still inferior to theirs. Yue then decided to combine Scorpion and Skeleton, strengthening their abilities. When the Golden Skeleton King is combined, it gains all the skills and experience of the Silver Scorpion. Due to its enormous power, the skeleton absorbed the second pet. The system displays a list of all upgrades received by the pet. In order to gain power, Scorpio had to be sacrificed, for which Yue apologized. The young man summoned the Necromancer's equipment. A chest appeared. Summoning a warrior skeleton provides the same level as the owner, thus reaching the 30th level of power. The principle of summoning is similar to having two pets. If Yue masters the gold skill, the effect is greatly enhanced. The young man began to improve his equipment. The chest opened. A light shone brightly inside. A level 25 Demon Slayer staff with 3 stars fell out of the chest. The Necromancer's ring increased attack by 140 points and added 8 to intelligence and dexterity. The Necromancer's cap provided an increase of 700 units of health and 8 to strength. The jacket and pants increased health by 800 units, physical defense by 90, and magical defense by 80. The boots had similar characteristics as the pants. The Necromancer's chains granted 700 units of mana, 8 to intellect and spirit. The guy was happy about such updates. Now, fully equipped, the skeleton will be even stronger than the protective boots, and its military skills will allow it to attack and defend simultaneously. This time, Yue will definitely not let Chen and his comrades leave alive using his new pet. The guy's aura changed dramatically. The youth ordered the Dark Skeleton King to begin the attack. The mercenaries decided to attack first. Yue had no intention of giving in and was waiting for the right moment to strike. The skeleton created a black blade. The mercenaries were stabbed in the back. The feeling of pain was excruciating. Paitsy was surprised by his high defense and powerful strikes, not understanding the source of such strength. Chen ordered the destruction of our hero, adding that doesn't the leader of the mercenaries want to save his daughter? The man was very angry but powerless to change the situation. Paitsy had a clear idea of what to do. Because of Chen's actions, the man lost his brothers, and once he saves his daughter, no one will escape punishment. A void formed in the place where the mercenary leader had recently stood. Paitsy planned to attack from behind. The young man parried the attack in time. The guy grinned, noticing that his opponent thought he was defenseless. Suddenly, a warrior skeleton appeared. The monster caught Paitsy off guard, positioning itself behind him. The man couldn't understand where the second pet came from. The warrior swung to attack. The blow hit the opponent's spine directly. Zhang Yue used multiple elements at once to attack. All forces merged into one. Paitsy managed to jump back. The man couldn't believe it, because no level 20 professional could inflict such damage. The mercenaries decided to attack the pet from behind. The damage inflicted was insignificant. The monster didn't even feel it. One of his subordinates reported that this Demon King was extremely powerful. Even a level 30 gold weapon was unable to cope with him. Paitsy ordered to neutralize the tamer first because the pet obeys him. The detachment rushed towards our hero. The young man stood motionless in place. The young man quickly dodged the attacks. Following this, a fireball flew at the opponents. Paitsy's men decided to attack in a similar manner from behind. But alas, Yue noticed their intention and counterattacked with lightning. While the young man was distracted, one of the mercenaries decided to attack. Another member of the squad also decided to attack, because against 2 of them, the young man would have no chance to dodge one of the blows. Suddenly, a protective dome appeared. They turned out to be people from Liu Yao's guild. Yue was surprised and decided to ask who had come to their rescue. Li Xiao Yao, who arrived on behalf of the head of the Major League, came to the rescue. The young man thanked the guests and asked them not to expose themselves to unnecessary danger. Xiao Yao agreed. The guy ordered not to overdo it, to combine forces, to intensively heal the injured and to exhaust the enemy's strength by any available means. The guild members immediately began to carry out the assigned tasks. The mercenaries quickly maneuvered. Pizzi was surprised that the detachment, which had recently arrived, showed a willingness to stand up for our hero. The enemy decided to attack, taking advantage of the moment when the mercenary leader was thinking, but he deftly dodged the blow. The freezing technique was applied immediately after this. Pizzi managed to jump back, and where he stood, icy cliffs grew. Yue wasn't surprised that the leader of the assassins was so skilled in martial arts. Peiki warned that the boy's death was only a matter of time, for he was not a girl with the skill of capturing an enemy. The pet was very angry. Yuki decided to provoke his opponents. Suddenly, a system window appeared in front of Peiki. One of the mercenary squad members reported that the second young lady of the Su family had sent people to look for Chiki, and the girl was now completely safe. A tear rolled down the man's cheek. The leader gave the order to the mercenaries to stop the fight. The detachment was in confusion. Our hero also did not understand the reason for such drastic changes. Chen was furious and rushed to Peiki, threatening that if he did not carry out his orders, he would never see his daughter again. Instead of submitting, the man grabbed Chen tightly, causing him to be surprised. He began to demand immediate release. Peizzi explained that when a man kidnapped his daughter, he should have known in advance what the consequences of his actions would be. The leader of the hired killers threw off his opponent with a powerful movement and drew his sword. Chen began to beg for mercy, assuring that he would immediately demand the girl's release. Now all words were empty for Peizzi, because now his daughter was out of danger. The blade pierced deep into Chen's heart. In place of the man, only digital pixels remained. Yuppie wondered if it was scary to kill Chen so easily because they might take revenge for him. The tip of the sword sank into the ground. The leader of the hired killers dropped to one knee and apologized. Yue didn't understand why Peiki would ask for forgiveness. The man explained that our hero's friend helped him get his daughter back, and for that, he felt immense gratitude. Li Xiaoyao kindly reminded that Peiki's mercenaries had killed 235 members of the top guild. The squad members did not understand the point of such conversations and suggested killing Xiaoyao if he wanted to die. Peizzi gave clear orders for everyone to remain in place. The young man decided to help the leader fulfill his request that the man be willing to give his life in exchange for the lives of his fallen comrades, whom he personally executed. Peizzi received a serious electrical charge from a lightning strike. The damage was excessive, which left Peizzi feeling unpleasant. One thing was clear, Yue was far from an ordinary person, after which the mercenary leader disappeared into the darkness. The mercenaries wanted to avenge their dead boss. Yue was ready for any attacks. The squad was stopped by a system that announced a new message. Peiki reported that Chiki was safe. Zhang Yue's people helped him get his daughter back. The man made a promise and was obliged to fulfill it from now on. Anyone who spoke out against our hero would be immediately expelled from the guild. Everyone was amazed. Xiaoyao and Yue waited for their opponents to make further moves. The young man approached the mercenary guild. Xiaoyao wanted to say something, but Yue asked him not to worry. The mercenaries bowed low before our hero, saying that they were ready to answer for the death of the young man's comrades. Xiao was surprised, but Yue was not surprised at all. The boy explained that they belonged to the dragon people, and their rage should be directed at their enemies, not at their own fellow citizens. Killing your own will not teach anyone anything. Yue asked to protect their families and the dragon people. That is the true purpose of a true professional. The young man asked to convey to Peizzi that now he owes a debt. All material losses of the highest order for the last 24 hours must be compensated in half. Hearing that they were now responsible for replenishing the ranks of the top guild in the third world, the mercenaries felt relieved and sincerely grateful. Soon the gate opened and Yue left the third world. Xiao now understood why Liu Yao valued our hero so highly. Finding himself in another dimension, Yue and his pet attracted increased attention from those around him. The system listed all of the Dark Skeleton King's skills in detail. The pet belonged to a rare class. Its special effect was called Divine Power. As expected from a boss, his stats were above average, but he lacked useful skills. Yu remembered that the quest reward included 2 skill books, with which he could train the Skeleton King. These skills were called Deadly Temptation and Slashing Strike. Yugi has upgraded his pet. Soon Su Yuan came running. The guy didn't understand why she came. She asked if Yue had killed Chen. The guy replied that he wanted to, but couldn't, because Peizzi killed him. The girl was glad that he wasn't the culprit, and Yue became curious about why this was important. Chen Tianqi had only one son, Chen Jun, and his father protected him very jealously. No matter the circumstances, he would definitely find and punish his son's killer. When the guy started talking about helping, Su Yuan thought he was hinting at her feelings. But instead of admitting his sympathy, the young man said that the girl was unusually faithful. Su was upset and reminded that because of Yue, she lost the opportunity to be resurrected and even lowered her level. When asked what she should do now, the guy thought about it. First, Yue suggested that Yuan go home, and tomorrow he would take her back to the third world. At this time in reality, returning home, the young man was glad to have the opportunity to rest a little. Suddenly the phone rang and an unknown number appeared on the screen. Before he could answer, words of gratitude came from the other end of the line. It was Peiki. He got Yue's number from the second young lady and called only to express his gratitude to our hero. Chitsi was everything to the man. For her, he was ready to do anything. Because of his daughter, he lost his mind and allowed himself to be taken over. Peiki decided to start all over again from the beginning. He and the guys would lead the Supreme Guild through the third world, as Yue requested, and then continue to move forward and put an end to this baseness. Our hero was glad that the man had sorted everything out. Soon morning came. The guy woke up from the noise. It was a delivery. As soon as the door opened, the courier asked him to sign the document. Yue was very surprised, because he had not ordered anything. The guy was surprised when he picked up the delivery. The letter stated that they were expecting to meet our hero at a professional tournament. The guy couldn't believe that someone knew his true identity and assumed that it was another reincarnated player like himself. The young man was distracted by the phone again. Yue was urgently asked to read the news urgently. The news reported that the 100th Professional Glory Tournament was about to begin. The Professionals Guild headquarters became the site of a battle that left 42 people and a 10-year-old girl dead. Yue didn't understand what kind of beasts they were that they destroyed an entire mercenary guild without even sparing a child. The murder was committed at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then our hero received that strange letter and he assumed that it was all connected. One way or another, it was impossible to stay in this apartment, so it was decided to find new housing. Having changed 3 taxis, driven around the city center twice, and wandered through a variety of residential areas, Yue had definitely gotten rid of surveillance if there was any. To find a new home, the young man went to a suitable agency. A nice realtor girl opened the door. She had just the perfect option for our hero. He was located near the community. The Shiyue residential complex is the most popular in the area. It is extremely conveniently located, and although the building is old, the price-quality ratio is pleasantly surprising. The girl suggested taking a look at the master bedroom. It is very spacious and well-designed. Yui appreciated this option. The realtor was pleased and said that she would prepare a contract. When the girl was talking about the neighbors, Yue was distracted by a phone call. It was Jinjana. She wanted to know if their plan was still going ahead. The young man said that he had rented an apartment and would now transfer money to the girl. With all the work completed, it was now time to conquer the third world. Su waited for Yue at the appointed place. The park's players decided to help the girl deal with the skeletons. Su replied that she didn't need it as she already had a team. By the time Yue arrived, the young lady was trying to get rid of the persistent hunters with words. When the conversation turned to the team, our hero announced that the girl was with him. Su Wen was glad to see the young man. The hunters began to humiliate the guy, saying that they would quickly deal with him because he was alone. Suddenly, one of them was captured. It was Liu Yao. He was angry that someone had set his sights on his friend's sister. Xiao Yao advised that he shouldn't draw attention to himself. Otherwise, Mr. Xiang would get into trouble. Yao, with a menacing look, advised the strangers to leave. The young gentleman apologized for having rushed into the conversation between them and those hunters. Liu called Xiao Yao to help. He played the role of support, and Shenyi acted as a healer. Yu said that there was no need for such participation and asked them to simply stay away from the battlefield. The whole group went on the mission. Su said that she didn't expect that Chen Tianqi was so cruel that he didn't even spare the little girl. Everything was not so simple at first glance. Everything seemed different. The girl was afraid that if it really was Chen, our hero would be the next target. Su promised that she was able to protect herself, recalling the incident of her death. Watching the actions of our heroes, Yao and his team realized that they were clearly superfluous. Soon, the young man stopped and asked if the boys were ready. They confirmed their readiness. The system asked if our hero wanted to form a team to begin the battle with the third world boss, and the young man confirmed his consent. Blue waves appeared. The portal began to form. When the gates opened, another world could be seen through them. The squad went straight into the portal. They decided to finish everything quickly. The system welcomed the heroes to the third world, whose boss was the boss domain, and the setting was the Death God's Condescension region. The boys came out of the gate. Liu Yao wondered if they were already at the boss's base, since nothing special could be seen from the outside. Winged monsters fly out of the darkness. Soon, the boss of the world himself appeared. Domain was a winged monster, approximately 9 meters tall. The boys stood motionless. Liu Yao guessed that this boss would be difficult to deal with. Yuke decided to activate the detection technology. Death God Kaisan had a magic level of 30. His skill was Death God's Eye. Although the boss is stronger than the previous ones, our hero now has 2 pets and a full set of necromancer equipment, which significantly increases his combat power. Kaisan was angry. The aura of death literally oozed from the monster. With a cry, the god of death summoned other monsters. Yue also didn't waste any time and summoned his pets. The Skeleton King immediately attacked his opponents. Using magical power, he pierced the monsters in the heart. The warrior then went on to a hand-to-hand attack. Yue also did not wait and began to help the pets. The opponents burned in fire as if in hellfire. Shenyi was amazed at the level of our hero. Even 5 of them could barely cope with 1 skeleton warrior in a minute. But Yue single-handedly destroyed an entire group. The young man said that he could handle the boss alone, but he asked the guys to take care of themselves and the minions. Everyone agreed with our hero's request, and Xiao Yao began to look for Liu Yao to protect him. The young master ran away and thanked Yue for her concern. The boy ordered the Dark Skeleton King to use Death Smile to attract the attention of the Death God Kaisan. The Skeleton King rushed at the boss. The damage from the attack was minimal. Shenyi was worried that they couldn't even tackle a level 33-star boss, such a tough pet. Yuke decided to mix techniques of different elements again. The boss received much more damage from this combination of attacks. Shenyi was surprised that the level 30 boss was a normal mob in front of Zhang Yue, earning a disapproving look from Xiao Yao. Our hero delivered the final blow to the boss together with his pets. Kei screamed from the attack. The system congratulated you on killing the level 30th boss. You successfully descended to the ground. The guys approached their hero, and the system also congratulated each team member. As expected of Zhang Yue, he quickly dealt with the boss, and now they probably became the first group to clear the third world boss. Our hero inquired about future plans. The guy recommended leveling up first to deal with the normal mobs of the fourth world. Su Yuan and Liu Yao exchanged glances. The boys agreed to stay in the third world and level up before moving on. After the battle, Yue returned to his new apartment. He decided to take a rest and then take on the fourth world. Putting his hand on the bed, the young man felt something. Yue jumped back in surprise. A cute girl who looked like Jinyan was sleeping on the bed. The guy didn't understand who was in his apartment. The stranger was talking in her sleep. The young man didn't know what to do. He wanted to understand how it happened that a beautiful girl ended up in his bed. As he left the bedroom, Yue dialed the realtor's number. The agent recalled that she had said that the guy would easily find common ground with his roommate. The young man did not remember this conversation. The girl was offended by the guy and asked him to stop talking nonsense. Her company runs an honest business and doesn't hide anything. Realizing that he had been overly anxious and had missed important details, Yue asked for help in finding a separate place to live, as he did not want to share a place with someone else. The young man looked into the bedroom again. Then he left. The 100th Professional League tournament is set to begin in 2 weeks, with fierce battles and large prize pools expected. A nation's strength is determined not only by their success in conquering other worlds, but also by their ranking in the final world. In his previous life, Yue died too early, but now he must surpass his previous record. To join the Professional League, a guy needs to reach level 30. The notification sound caught my attention. Liu Yao again asked for help with small matters. The portal opened a passage to the third world's wild zone, the Shadowland, where a young gentleman was with several girls. The young hunters tried to make sure that Liu could help them. The young man tried to leave the girls, promising that his older brother, unlike his team, would be able to help them complete the game map. Here Yao turned around, hearing the address. It was Yue. The young gentleman was glad to see him, which surprised our hero. The girls were unhappy that only the beast tamer came. They did not understand how he would help them complete the task. Liu began to persuade Yue to help him and join their team to complete the mission. There was a boss on the game map, a level 27 skeleton. Yue asked everyone to wait outside. There was no need to enter the map. The girls whispered, thinking that the guys often boasted, but luck rarely favored fools. 3 minutes later, Zhang Yue returned, surprising the team. Our hero announced that he had completed the task and was leaving, as he had other things to do. The girls' dissatisfaction turned to surprise when the system announced the completion of the task. Lau remembered what he had told about his brother, the trapper, and according to their bet with the girls, one of them had to be his girlfriend for a week. One of the strangers decided to leave, citing urgent matters. Our hero was called by his real name. The young man recalled that Amr died in battle 100 years ago. The girl insisted that this was not true, and Asura was standing right in front of her. This angered Yue. He grabbed her by the throat and began to ask her if she was the one who sent the letter and who she really was. The girl asked for help with one matter, promising to tell the truth. The young man became even more enraged by the threats. But the huntress gave her word that if he helped her, he would undertake to keep everything a secret. If Yue killed her now, he would lose his leadership position. Without delay, our hero asked what exactly he was supposed to do. The young lady wanted the guy to play on the same team with her in a professional tournament. The girl simply asked for help passing the qualifying competition. The guy asked if the help would be provided for a reward. The young lady said that not quite. She wanted to demonstrate her abilities. Regardless of the reason, Yue asked to approach him when the girl reached level 30 and registered in the National Professional League. The young man stopped abruptly, causing the girl to crash into his back. He told her not to follow him and to find a way to register on her own. The system offered to choose a world to enter. Yue chose the 4th world, the Valley of Dragons. Depending on the location, our hero was in the 15th region, the Temple of Light. Dragons circled above the castle. The safe zone was shared by the cities of Linhai and Ganyana. All players from both settlements belonged to the Temple of Light. The young man looked around. 1,000 years ago, after a battle between the light and dark dragons, the leaders made a pact, agreeing to live in peace. Once Yue reaches level 30 and completes the transition to 2nd class, an additional pet cage will open. It was decided to complete several tasks first. In the Dark Mountains, a few minutes later, the Skeleton King fought the dragon. The travelers had to go to the Dark Mountains of the Northern Light Continent and begin hunting 12 dark dragons, which is what our hero did. The conditions of the task were to gain trust, the only way to increase the level of the task. The dragon attacked with purple flame. The Skeleton King managed to put up a weak defense. When the fire died down, the pet immediately struck. The dragon's head tilted back slightly. The skeleton warrior decided to finish off the target. It's good that the Skeleton King has good defense. The damage of the black dragons is small. 2 skeleton warriors are quite enough. The dragon was soon defeated. The system provided the characteristics of the deceased dragon. Here the young man's attention was attracted by an unfamiliar noise. The silhouettes of several dragons appeared in the sky. 3 enemies were moving towards our hero at once. It turned out that this was a hidden quest. Yue saw this for the first time. Because of the current location of our hero, a cutscene began. The young man was immediately asked to update the task. The system congratulated him on receiving the hidden task Crush the Darkness. A huge number of dark dragons have emerged from the ancient ruins on the Northern Light Continent, preparing to invade. The young man and his pets set off to complete the task. During the battle, dust flew in all directions. Someone attacked the dragons. Our hero thought that someone had already discovered the battle. 3 giant dragons attacked with fire. The little dragons couldn't resist the heat. The situation was one-sided. The black dragons were not comparable to the light ones. It seemed that the task for Yue would be simple. Taking a closer look, the young man realized that everything would not be so simple. The black dragons continued to attack. The light dragons were unable to build a defense. When one of the opponents tried to change the direction of the attack, the Skeleton King managed to put up a defense. The Dark Battle Lord was level 35. The dragon looked terrifying. There were only 3 high-level monsters, and Yue guessed that the quest was specifically designed to kill them. Suddenly, the enemy started talking about how the Clan of Light was doomed, and being on their side was a dead-end choice. The young man was surprised that the monster could speak human language. The Lord of Light promised to give him one chance to renounce the light and join the Dark Clan. Then he would save his life. 3 Overlord-class dragons of level 35. Refusal means death and loss of level. Failure will result in double punishment. At least being a dark dragon doesn't mean instant death. But this doesn't seem like a hidden mission, rather a trap set by the Dark Dragon Clan. The young man decided that if he could not defeat the enemy, he would join them. The dragon agreed and let out an ominous roar. gates began to form in the air. Soon, the portal opened completely. Our hero was serious. The next second, the guy disappeared into purple light. The dragons followed. The place of movement turned out to be a dark forest. Our hero came out first. A few seconds later, he found himself in a dark hall. The system reported that the dark hall is not a safe zone. It only serves as an entry, exit, and respawn point. Yue was met by the leader of the Dark Dragon Knights, Goya, and the system reported that Goya was inviting our hero to join the dark side. After the time had passed, the hidden quest to crush the darkness was completed as far as the young man knew. No one had ever left the Clan of Light in the Fourth World. To prove his loyalty, the knight ordered to go to the territory of the Light Clan and scout out the location of several giant light dragons. The task against the light was to destroy many dragons. Giant light dragons are roughly equal in strength to dark magical dragons. It was the same situation in reverse. The only difference was the better reward. The system notified of a message containing Yue's request for help with the task. The young man refused payment, as he only agreed to help with the selection tests. It was that same stranger who promised to reveal Amura's secret in exchange for help. The stranger was waiting in the city of death, the wasteland. Seeing Yue, the girl immediately rushed towards him. The young lady apologized, explaining that she was supposed to complete this task with her friends, but they left her. Our hero was indifferent to the problems with his girlfriends. He wanted to finish his business as quickly as possible. The girl felt awkward. Suddenly, Yue called out to Su Yuan, curious as to why the boy was still in the third world. Upon seeing the stranger, the young lady's mood changed dramatically. The stranger introduced herself as Ning Tiantian, calling herself our hero's cousin. Nin whispered that she would keep everything a secret. Hearing that it was her cousin, Yuan perked up and offered her help. The guy was pleased. Explosions were heard in the forest. As always, our heroes worked in a coordinated manner. The fireball was directed towards the opponents. A crowd of zombies was heading towards our heroes, but then they were knocked down by a fire attack. Ning noted that Su Yuan was also impressive. In Tiantian's opinion, Jinyan was so confident in herself, unlike herself. The young huntress was surprised at how quickly the heroes dealt with the monsters. It suddenly turned out that someone outside was following Yue and his team. This was one of the girls our hero helped when he asked Liu Yao. Soon, the boys completed the quest. Su Yan soon ran off to level up further. When there were no strangers left, Yue immediately got down to business and asked about the secret. Ning stated that Asura currently resides in Linghai City in the Shiyu-E community. This surprised our hero very much. Without thinking, he called upon his pets, preparing to engage the girl in battle. The Skeleton King grabbed the young lady by the neck. Ning Tiantian reminded him that the young man was supposed to help her with the qualifying competition, and then she would reveal the answer. The monster's palm squeezed tighter. Yu still recalled his pets. The guy told Ning to come back when she reached level 30, and if she didn't keep her promise, he would bury her alive. To protect himself, the young man must quickly leave this world after completing the task. Our hero returned to the Fourth World. A group of hunters were killing dragons. Upon receiving the message, Duzun, the god of war, became furious to learn that Ning had dared to betray him. The magician didn't understand who had the courage to kidnap the guild deputy's girlfriend. The dragon went out of action, leaving attack range. Duzun ordered his guild to complete the quest first. After completion, the god of war continued on his way. On their way, they met Yue. Duzun assumed that the guy wanted to steal something from them. The young man shuddered slightly when he heard the address. Yue didn't expect that someone had already managed to clear out the third world. Duzun asked if the boy was going to speak out against the god of war. Our hero had never heard of such a guild. In order not to waste time, Yue went about his business. This behavior angered Duzun. The War Gods Guild discussed that since a beast tamer appeared in the Fourth World, it meant he was a true professional. The system notified that a boss, the Corpse Dragon Destroyer, had appeared in the location. The enemy was huge. The dragon used the putrid breath technique. The other flying creatures were also affected by this attack. Duzun ordered his guild members to arm themselves. Something has bound the god of death. Taking advantage of the situation, the dragon struck. Duzun managed to free himself at the last moment and jump away. The young man wanted to know who set the trap. The dragon descended from the sky, raising clouds of dust. Our hero emerged from the dust. The god of war thought that Yue was claiming ownership of this boss. Our hero warned the guild to leave the area within 10 seconds. Duzun was sure that the young man wanted to appropriate the boss. The archer decided to attack while Yue was busy talking. Having summoned the Skeleton King, the young man managed to defend himself. The counterattack was not long in coming, and the enemy found itself on fire. Yu killed the professional player from the moment he attacked the destroyer dragon, as the enemy was in the youth's hunting zone, and no sin points would be awarded for this. Duzin was surprised that a level 24 archer was killed in one blow. The dragon and Yue emitted a similar aura. The hidden mission was to protect the corpse dragon, as he was the leader of the Dark Clan. Our hero summoned the Skeleton King. The magician assumed that the stranger was an ally of the boss. Duzin immediately assumed that it was Yue who had kidnapped his girlfriend. As our hero was finishing his last hidden mission, things were going to be different this time.